The Corpus Hermeticum, Chapter 1. Pomandrus, the Shepherd of Men. It chanced me once on a time, my mind was meditating on the things that are. My thought was raised to a great height, the senses of my body being held back, just as men who are weighed down with sleep after a fill of food, or from fatigue of body. Methought a being more than vast, in size beyond all bounds, called out my name and saith, What wouldst thou hear and see, and what hast thou in mind to learn and know? And I do say, Who art thou? He saith, I am man's shepherd, mind of all masterhood. I know what thou desireth, and I am with thee everywhere. And I reply, I long to learn the things that are, and comprehend their nature and know God. This is, I said, what I desire to hear. He answered back to me, Hold in thy mind all thou wouldst know, and I will teach thee. Even with these words his aspect changed, and straightway, in the twinkling of an eye, all things were open to me. And I see a vision limitless, all things turned into light, sweet, joyous light, and I became transported as I gazed. But in a little while darkness came settling down on part of it, awesome and gloomy, coiling in sinuous folds, so that methought it like unto a snake. And then the darkness changed into some sort of a moist nature, tossed about beyond all power of words, belching out smoke as from fire, and groaning forth a wailing sound that beggars all description. And after that an outcry inarticulate came forth from it, as though it were a voice of fire. Thereon, out of the light, a holy word, Logos, descended on that nature, and upwards to the height from the moist nature leaped forth pure fire. Light was it, swift and active too. The air too, being light, followed after the fire, from out the earth and water, rising up to fire so that it seemed to hang therefrom. But earth and water stayed so mingled each with other, that earth from water no one could discern. Yet were they moved to hear by reason of the spirit word Logos pervading them. Then saith to me, Man shepherd, didst understand this vision, what it means? Nay, that shall I know, I said. That light, he said, am I, thy God. Mind, prior to moist nature, which appeared from darkness, the light word Logos, that appeared from mind, is Son of God. What then, say I? Know that what sees in thee and hears is the Lord's word Logos, but mind is Father God. Not separate are they, one from other. Just in their union rather is it life consists. Thanks be to thee, I said. So, understand the light, and make friends with it. And speaking thus, he gazed for long into my eyes, so that I trembled at the look of him. But when he raised his head, I see in mine the light, but now in powers no man could number, and cosmos grown beyond all bounds, and that the fire was compassed round about by a most mighty power, and now subdued had come unto a stand. And when I saw these things, I understood by reason of man-shepherd's word, Logos. But as I was in great astonishment, he saith to me again, Thou didst behold in mind the archetypal form whose being is before beginning, without end. Thus spake to me man-shepherd. And I say, Whence then have nature's elements their being? To this he answer gives, From will of God. Nature received the word Logos, and gazing on the cosmos beautiful did copy it, making herself into a cosmos by means of her own elements and by births of souls. And God, the mind, being male and female both, as light and life subsisting, brought forth another mind to give things form, who, God as he was of fire and spirit, formed 7 rulers who enclose the cosmos that the sense perceives. Men call their ruling fate. Straightway from out the downward elements, God's reason, logos, leaped up to nature's pure formation, and was at one with the formative mind, for it was co-essential with it. And nature's downward elements were thus left reasonless, so as to be pure matter. Then the formative mind, at one with reason, he who surrounds the spheres and spins them with his whirl, set turning his formations, and let them turn from a beginning boundless unto an endless end. For that the circulation of these spheres begins where it doth end, as mind doth will. And from the downward elements nature brought forth lives reasonless, for he did not extend the reason, logos, to them. The air brought forth things winged, the water things that swim, and earth and water one from another parted, as mind willed. And from her bosom earth produced what lives she had, 4-footed things and reptiles, beasts wild and tame. But all Father Mind, being life and light, did bring forth man co-equal to himself, with whom he fell in love, as being his own child, for he was beautiful beyond compare, the image of his sire. In very truth, God fell in love with his own form, and on him did bestow all his own formations. And when he gazed upon what the informer had created in the Father, man too wished to inform, and so assent was given him by the Father, changing his state to the formative sphere, in that he was to have his whole authority. He gazed upon his brother's creatures. They fell in love with him, and gave him each a share of his own ordering. And after that he had well learned their essence, and had become a sharer in their nature. He had a mind to break right through the boundary of their spheres, and to subdue the might of that which pressed upon the fire. So he who hath the whole authority over all the mortals in the cosmos, and over its lives irrational, bent his face downwards through the harmony, breaking right through its strength, and showed to downward nature God's fair form. And when she saw that form of beauty which can never satiate, and him who now possessed within himself each single energy of all 7 rulers as well as God's own form, she smiled with love, for 'twas as though she had seen the image of man's fairest form upon her water, his shadow on her earth. He in his turn, beholding the form like to himself, existing in her water, loved it and willed to live in it. And with the will came act, and so he vivified the form devoid of reason. And nature took the object of her love, and wound herself completely round him, and they were intermingled, for they were lovers. And this is why, beyond all creatures on the earth, man is twofold, mortal because of his body, but because of the essential man, immortal. Though deathless and possessed of sway over all, yet doth he suffer as a mortal doth, subject to fate. Thus, though above the harmony, within the harmony he hath become a slave, though male-female, as from a father male-female, and though he's sleepless from a sleepless sire, yet is he overcome by sleep. Thereon, I say, teach on, O mind of me, for I myself as well am amorous of the word, Logos. The shepherd said, this is the mystery kept hidden until this day. Nature embraced by man brought forth a wonder, oh, so wonderful. For as he had the nature of the concord of the seven, who, as I said to thee, were made of fire and spirit, nature delayed not, but immediately brought forth 7 men in correspondence with the natures of the 7, male, female, and moving in the air. Thereon I said, O shepherd, for now I am filled with great desire, and long to hear. Do not run off. The shepherd said, keep silence, for not as yet have I unrolled for thee the first discourse, Logos. Lo, I am still, I said. In such wise then, as I have said, the generation of these 7 came to pass. Earth was a woman, her water filled with longing. Ripeness she took from fire, spirit from aether. Nature thus brought forth frames to suit the form of man, and from life and light changed into soul and mind, from life to soul, from light to mind. And thus continued all the sense world's parts, until the period of their end and new beginnings. Now listen to the rest of the discourse, Logos, which thou dost long to hear. The period being ended, the bond that bound them all was loosened by God's will. For all the animals, being male-female, at the same time with man were loosed apart. Some became partly male, and some in like fashion partly female. And straightway God spake by his holy word, Logos. Increase ye in increasing, and multiply in multitude, ye creatures and creations all. And man that hath mind in him, let him learn to know that he himself is deathless, and that the cause of death is love, though love is all. When he said this, his forethought did by means of fate and harmony affect their couplings and their generations founded. And so all things were multiplied according to their kind. And he who thus hath learned to know himself had reached that good which doth transcend abundance. But he who, through a love that leads astray, expends his love upon his body, he stays in darkness wandering, and suffering through his senses things of death. What is the so great fault, said I, the ignorant commit, that they should be deprived of deathlessness? Thou seemest, he said, O thou, not to have given heed to what thou heardest. Did not I bid thee to think? Yea, do I think, and I remember, and therefore give thee thanks. If thou did think thereon, he said, tell me, why do they merit death, who are in death? It is because the gloomy darkness is the root and base of the material frame. From it came the moist nature. From this the body in the sense world was composed, and from this body death doth the water drain. Right was thy thought, O thou, but how doth he who knows himself go unto him, as God's word Logos hath declared? And I reply, the Father of the universals doth consist of light and life, and from him man was born. Thou sayest well, thus speaking, light and life is Father God, and from him man was born. If then thou learnest that thou art thyself of light and life, and that thou only happen to be out of them, thou shalt return to life again. Thus did man shepherd speak. But tell me further, mind of me, I cried, how shall I come to life again? For God doth say, the man who hath mind in him, let him learn to know that he himself is deathless. Have not all men then mind? Thou sayest well, O thou thus speaking. I, mind, myself, am present with holy men and good, the pure and merciful, men who live piously. To such my presence doth become an aid, and straightway they gain gnosis of all things, and win the Father's love by their pure lives, and give him thanks, invoking on him blessings, and chanting hymns, intent on him with ardent love. And ever they give up the body unto its proper death. They turn them with disgust from its sensations, from knowledge of what things they operate. Nay, it is I, the mind, that will not let the operations which befall the body work to their natural end. For being the doorkeeper, I will close up all the entrances, and cut the mental actions off which base and evil energies induce. But to the mindless ones, the wicked and depraved, the envious and covetous, and those who murder, do, and love impiety, I am far off, yielding my place to the avenging demon, who, sharpening the fire, tormenteth him and addeth fire to fire upon him, and rusheth on him through his senses, thus rendering him the readier for transgressions of the law, so that he meets with greater torment, nor doth he ever cease to have desire for appetites inordinate, insatiately striving in the dark. Well hast thou taught me all, as I desired, O mind. And now, pray, tell me further of the nature of the way above, as now it is for me. To this man-shepherd said, when thy material body is to be dissolved, first thou surrenderest the body by itself unto the work of change, and thus the form thou hadst doth vanish, and thou surrenderest thy way of life, void of its energy, unto the demon. The body senses next pack back into their sources, becoming separate, and resurrect as energies, and passion and desire withdraw unto that nature which is void of reason. And thus it is that man doth speed his way thereafter upwards through the harmony. To the first zone he gives the energy of growth and waning. Unto the second zone, device of evils now de-energized. Unto the third, the guile of the desires de-energized. Unto the fourth, his domineering arrogance also de-energized. Unto the fifth, unholy daring and the rashness of audacity de-energized. Unto the sixth, striving for wealth by evil means, deprived of its aggrandizement. And to the seventh zone, ensnaring falsehood, de-energized. And then, with all the energizings of the harmony stripped from him, clothed in his proper power, he cometh to that nature which belongs unto the eighth, and there with those that are hymneth the Father. They who are there welcome his coming there with joy, and he, made like to them that sojourn there, doth further hear the powers who are above the nature that belongs unto the eighth, singing their songs of praise to God in language of their own. And then they, in a band, go to the Father home. Of their own selves they make surrender, of themselves to powers, and thus becoming powers, they are in God. This the good end for those who have gained gnosis, to be made one with God. Why should thou then delay? Must it not be, since thou hast all received, that thou should to the worthy point the way, in order that through thee the race of mortal kind may by thy God be saved? This when he had said, man-shepherd mingled with the powers. But I, with thanks and blessings unto the Father of the universal powers, was freed, full of the powers he had poured into me, and full of what he had taught me of the nature of the all and of the loftiest vision. I began to preach to men the beauty of devotion and of gnosis. O ye people, earth-born folk, ye who have given yourselves to drunkenness and sleep in ignorance of God, be sober now, cease from your surfeit, cease to be glamored by irrational sleep. And when they heard, they came with one accord, whereon I say, ye earth-born folk, why have ye given up yourselves to death, while yet ye have the power of sharing deathlessness? Repent, O ye, who walk with error arm in arm, and make of ignorance the sharer of your board. Get ye from out the light of darkness, and take your part in deathlessness. Forsake destruction. And some of them with jests upon their lips departed from me, abandoning themselves unto the way of death. Others entreated to be taught, casting themselves before my feet. But I made them arise, and I became a leader of the race towards home, teaching the word, how and in what way they shall be saved. I sowed in them the words of wisdom, of deathless water were they given to drink. And when even was come, and all suns' beams began to set, I bade them all give thanks to God. And when they had brought to an end the giving of their thanks, each man returned to his own resting place. But I recorded in my heart man-shepherd's benefaction, and with my every hope fulfilled more than rejoiced. For body's sleep became the soul's awakening, and closing of the eyes true vision, pregnant with good my silence, and the utterance of my word logos begetting of good things. All this befell me from my mind, that is man-shepherd, word logos of all masterhood, by whom being God-inspired I came unto the plain of truth. Wherefore, with all my soul and strength, thanksgiving give I unto Father God. Holy art thou, O God, the universal's Father. Holy art thou, O God, whose will perfects itself by means of its own powers. Holy art thou, O God, who willeth to be known, and art known by thine own. Holy art thou, who did by word logos make to consist the things that are. Holy art thou, of whom all nature hath been made an image. Holy art thou, whose form nature hath never made. Holy art thou, more powerful than all power. Holy art thou, transcending all preeminence. Holy art thou, thou better than all praise. Accept my reason's offerings pure, from soul and heart for aye stretched up to thee, O thou unutterable, unspeakable, whose name naught but silence can express. Give ear to me who pray that I may never of gnosis fail, gnosis which is our common being's nature, and fill me with thy power, and with this grace of thine, that I may give the light to those in ignorance of the race, my brethren and thy sons. For this cause I believe, and I bear witness. I go to life and light. Blessed art thou, O Father. Thy man would wholly be as thou art holy, even as thou gavest him thy full authority to be. The Corpus Hermeticum, Chapter 2, to Asclepius. All that is moved, Asclepius, is it not moved in something and by something? Assuredly. And must not that in which it is moved be greater than the moved? It must. Mover again has greater power than moved. It has, of course. The nature, furthermore, of that in which it is moved must be quite other from the nature of the moved. It must completely. Is not, again, This cosmos vast, so vast that than it there exists no body greater, assuredly. And massive too, for it is crammed with multitudes of other mighty frames, nay, rather all the other bodies that there are. It is. And yet the cosmos is a body. It is a body. And one that is moved? Assuredly. Of what size, then, must be the space in which it is moved? And of what kind must be the nature of that space? Must it not be far vaster than the cosmos, in order that it may be able to find room for its continued course, so that the moved may not be cramped for want of room, and lose its motion? Something, thrice greatest one, it needs must be immensely vast. And of what nature? Must it not be, Asclepius, of just the contrary? And is not contrary to body, bodiless. Agreed. Space, then, is bodiless, but bodiless must either be some godlike thing or God himself. And by some quote-unquote godlike thing, I mean no more the generable, but the ingenerable. If, then, space be some godlike thing, it is substantial. But if 'tis God himself, it transcends substance. But it is to be thought of otherwise than God, and in this way. God is first thinkable for us, not for himself. For that the thing that's thought doth fall beneath the thinker's sense. God then cannot be thinkable unto himself, in that he is thought of by himself as being nothing else than what he thinks. But he is something else for us, and so he is thought of by us. If space is, therefore, to be thought, it should not then be thought as God, but space. If God is also to be thought, he should not be conceived as space, but energy that can contain all space. Further, all that is moved not in the moved, but in the stable. And that which moves another is of course stationary, for 'tis impossible that it should move with it. How is it, then, that things down here, thrice greatest one, are moved with those that are already moved? For thou hast said the errant spheres were moved by the inerrant one. This is not, O Asclepius, a moving with, but one against. They are not moved with one another, but one against the other. It is this contrariety which turneth the resistance of their motion into rest, for that resistance is the rest of motion. Hence, too, the errant spheres, being moved contrarily to the inerrant one, are moved by one another by mutual contrariety, and also by the stable one through contrariety itself. And this can otherwise not be. The bears up there, which neither set nor rise, thinkest thou they rest or move? They move, thrice greatest one. And what their motion, my Asclepius? Motion that turns forever round the same. But revolution, motion round same, is fixed by rest. For round the same doth stop beyond same. Beyond same, then, being stopped, if it be steadied in round same, the contrary stands firm, being rendered ever stable by its contrariety. Of this I will give thee here on earth an instance, which the eye can see. Regard the animals down here. A man, for instance, swimming. The water moves, yet the resistance of his hands and feet give him stability, so that he is not borne along with it, nor sunk thereby. Thou hast, thrice greatest one, adduced a most clear instance. All motion, then, is caused in station and by station. The motion, therefore, of the cosmos and of every other hylic animal will not be caused by things exterior to the cosmos, but by things interior, outward to the exterior, such things as soul, or spirit, or some such other thing incorporeal. 'Tis not its body that doth move the living thing in it, nay, not even the whole body of the universe, a lesser body even, though there be no life in it. What meanest thou by this, thrice greatest one? Is it not bodies, then, that move the stock and stone, and all the other things inanimate? By no means, O Asclepius. The something in the body, the that which moves the thing inanimate, this surely not a body, for that it moves the two of them, both body of the lifter and the lifted, so that a thing that's lifeless will not move a lifeless thing. That which doth move another thing is animate, in that it is the mover. Thou seest then how heavy laden is the soul, for it alone doth lift two bodies. That things, moreover, moved, are moved in something as well as moved by something is clear. Yes, O thrice greatest one, things moved must need to be moved in something void. Thou sayest well, O my Asclepius, for naught of things that are is void. Alone, the is-not's void and stranger to subsistence, for that which is subsistent can never change to void. Are there then, O thrice greatest one, no such thing as an empty cask, for instance, and an empty jar, a cup and vat, and other things like unto them? Alack, Asclepius, for thy far wandering from the truth! Thinkest thou that things most fill and most replete are void? How meanest thou, thrice greatest one? Is not the air a body? It is. And doth this body not pervade all things, and so pervading, fill them? And body, doth body not consist from blending of the four? Full then of air are all thou callest void, and if of air, then of the four. Further, of this the converse follows, that all thou callest full are void of air, for that they have their space filled out with other bodies, and therefore are not able to receive the air therein. These, then, which thou dost say are void, they should be hollow named, not void, for they not only are, but they are full of air and spirit. Thy argument, Logos, thrice greatest one, is not to be gainsaid. Air is a body. Further, it is this body which doth pervade all things, and so pervading, fill them. What are we, then, to call that space in which the all doth move? The bodiless, Asclepius. What then is bodiless? 'Tis mind and reason, Logos, whole out of whole, all self-embracing, free from all body, from all error free, unsensible to body and untouchable, self-stayed in self, containing all, preserving those that are, whose rays, to use a likeness, are good, truth, light beyond light, the archetype of the soul. What then is God? Not any one of these is he, for he it is that causeth them to be, both all and each and everything of all that are, nor hath he left a thing beside that is not, but they are all from things that are, and not from things that are not. For that the things that are not have naturally no power of being anything, but rather have the nature of the inability to be, and conversely, the things that are have not the nature of sometime not being. What sayest thou ever, then, God is. God, therefore, is not mind, but cause that the mind is. God is not spirit, but cause that spirit is. God is not light, but cause that the light is. Hence should one honor God with these two names, the Good, the Father, names which pertain to him alone and no one else. For no one of the other so-called gods, no one of men or daemons, can be in any measure good, but God alone. And he is good alone and nothing else. The rest of things are separable all from the good's nature, for all the rest are soul and body, which have no space that can contain the good. For that, as mighty is the greatness of the good, as is the being of all things that are, both bodies and things bodiless, things sensible and intelligible things. Call not thou, therefore, aught else good, for thou wouldst impious be, nor anything at all any time call God but good alone, for so thou wouldst again be impious. Thou, then, the good is spoken of by all. It is not understood by all what thing it is. Not only then is God not understood by all, but both unto the gods and some of men, they out of ignorance do give the name of good, though they can never either be or become good, for they are very different from God, while good can never be distinguished from him, for that God is the same as good. The rest of the immortal ones are nathless honored with the name of God, and spoken of as gods. But God is good not out of courtesy, but out of nature. For that God's nature and the good is one. One is the kind of both, from which all other kinds proceed. The good is he who gives all things and not receives. God, then, doth give all things and receive not. God, then, is good, and good is God. The other name of God is Father. Again, because he is that which maketh all. The part of Father is to make. Wherefore child-making is a very great and a most pious thing in life for them who think aright. And to leave life on earth without a child, a very great misfortune and impiety. And he who hath no child is punished by the demons after death. And this is the punishment, that that man's soul who hath no child shall be condemned unto a body with neither man nor woman's nature, a thing accursed beneath the sun. Wherefore, Asclepius, let not your sympathies be with the man who hath no child, but rather pity his mishap, knowing that punishment abides for him. Let all that has been said, then, be to thee, Asclepius, an introduction to the gnosis of the nature of all things. Corpus Hermeticum, Chapter 3, the Sacred Sermon of Hermes. The glory of all things is God, Godhead, and godly nature. Source of the things that are is God, who is both mind and nature, yea, matter, the wisdom that reveals all things. Source too is Godhead, yea, nature, energy, necessity, and end, and making new again. Darkness that knew no bounds was in abyss, and water too, and subtle breath intelligent. These were by power of God in chaos. Then holy light arose, and there collected beneath the dry space from out of moist essence elements. And all the gods do separate things from fecund nature. All things being undefined and yet unwrought, the light things were assigned unto the height. The heavy ones had their foundations laid down underneath the moist part of dry space, the universal things being bounded off by fire and hanged in breath to keep them up. And heaven was seen in 7 circles. Its gods were visible in forms of stars with all their signs, while nature had her members made articulate, together with the gods in her, and heaven's periphery revolved in cyclic course, borne on by breath of God. And every god, by his own proper power, brought forth what was appointed him. Thus there arose 4-footed beasts, and creeping things, and those that in the water dwell, and things with wings, and everything that beareth seed and grass, and shoot of every flower, all having in themselves seed of again becoming. And they selected out the births of men for gnosis, of the works of God, and attestation of the energy of nature. The multitude of men for lordship over all beneath the heaven, and gnosis of its blessings, that they might increase in increasing, and multiply in multitude, and every soul enfleshed by revolution of the cyclic gods, for observation of the marvels of the heaven, and heaven's God's revolution, and of the work of God and energy of nature, for tokens of its blessing, for gnosis of the power of God, that they might know the fates that follow good and evil deeds, and learn the cunning work of all good arts. Thus there begins their living and their growing wise, according to the fate appointed by the revolution of the cyclic gods, and their deceasing for this end. And there shall be memorials mighty of their handiworks upon the earth, leaving dim trace behind when cycles are renewed. For every birth of flesh and soul, and of the fruit of seed, and every handiwork, though it decay, shall of necessity renew itself, both by the renovation of the gods, and by the turning round of nature's rhythmic wheel. For that whereas the Godhead is nature's ever making new again the cosmic mixture, nature herself is also co-established in that Godhead. Corpus Hermeticum, Chapter 3, the Cup or Monad. With reason, Logos, not with hands, did the world maker make the universal world, so that thou thus should think of him as everywhere and ever being, the author of all things, and one and only, who by his will all beings hath created. This body of him is a thing no man can touch, or see, or measure, a body inextensible, like to no other frame. 'Tis neither fire nor water, air nor breath, yet all of them come from it. Now, being good, he willed to consecrate his body to himself alone, and set its earth in order and adorn it. So down to earth he sent the cosmos of this frame divine, man, a life that cannot die, and yet a life that does. And over all other lives, and over the cosmos too, did man excel by reason of the reason, Logos, and the mind. For the contemplator of God's work did man become. He marveled, and did strive to know their author. Reason, Logos indeed, O Tot, among all men hath he distributed, but mind not yet. Not that he grudgeth any, for grudging cometh not from him, but hath its place below, within the souls of men who have no mind. Why then did God, O Father, not on all bestow a share of mind? He willed, my son, to have it set up in the midst for souls, just as it were a prize. And where hath he set it up? He tilled a mighty cup with it, and sent it down, joining a herald to it, to whom he gave command to make this proclamation to the hearts of men. Baptize thyself with this cup's baptism. What heart can do so? Thou that has faith, thou canst ascend to him that hath sent down the cup. Thou that dost know for what thou didst come into being. As many then as understood the herald's tidings and doused themselves in mind, became partakers in the gnosis, and when they had received the mind, they were made perfect men. But they who did not understand the tidings, these, since they possess the aid of reason only and not mind, are ignorant wherefore they have come into being, and whereby. The senses of such men are like irrational creatures, and as their whole makeup is in their feelings and their impulses, they fail in all appreciation of those things which really are worth contemplation. These center all their thought upon the pleasures of the body and its appetites, in the belief that for its sake man hath come into being. But they who have received some portion of God's gift, these taught, if we judge by their deeds, have from death bonds won their release, for they embrace in their own mind all things on the earth, things in the heaven, and things above the heaven, if there be aught. And having raised themselves so far, they sight the good, and having sighted it, they look upon their sojourn here as a mischance, and in disdain of all, both things in body and the bodiless, they speed their way unto the one, and only one. This is, O Tot, the gnosis of the mind, vision of things divine. God knowledge is it, for the cup is God's. Father, I too would like to be baptized. Unless thou first shalt hate thy body, son, thou cannot love thyself. But if thou love thyself, thou shalt have mind, and, having mind, thou shalt share in the gnosis. Father, what dost thou mean? It is not possible, my son, to give thyself to both. I mean to things that perish and to things divine. For seeing that existing things are twain, body and bodiless, in which the perishing and the divine are understood, the man who hath the will to choose is left the choice of one or other, for it can never be the twain should meet. And in those souls to whom the choice is left, the waning of the one causes the other's growth to show itself. Now the choosing of the better not only proves a lot most fair for him who makes the choice, seeing it makes the man a god, but also shows his piety to God. Whereas the choosing of the worse, although it doth destroy the man, it only doth disturb God's harmony to this extent, that his processions pass by in the middle of the way, without being able to do anything but take the road from others. So do such men move in procession through the world, led by their bodies' pleasures. This being so, O Tot, what comes from God hath been and will be ours. But that which is dependent on ourselves, let this press onward and have no delay, for 'tis not God, 'tis we who are the cause of evil things, preferring them to good. Thou see, son, how many are the bodies through which we have to pass, how many are the choirs of demons, how vast the system of the star courses through which our path doth lie, to hasten to the one and only God. For to the good there is no other shore, it hath no bounds, it is without an end, and for itself it is without beginning too, though unto us it seemeth to have one, the gnosis. Therefore to it gnosis is no beginning. Rather is it that gnosis doth afford to us the first beginning of its being known. Let us lay hold, therefore, of the beginning, and quickly speed through all we have to pass. 'Tis very hard to leave the things we have grown used to, which meet our gaze on every side, and turn ourselves back to the old path. Appearances delight us, whereas things which appear not make their believing hard. Now evils are the more apparent thing, whereas the good can never show itself unto the eyes, for it hath neither form nor figure. Therefore the good is like itself alone, and unlike all things else. For 'tis impossible that that which hath no body should make itself apparent to a body. The like superiority to the unlike, and the unlike's inferiority unto the like consists in this: the oneness being source and root of all, is in all things as root and source. Without this source is naught, whereas the source itself is from naught but itself, since it is the source of all rest. It is itself a source, since it may have no other source. The oneness, then, being source, containeth every number, but is contained by none, engendereth every number, but is engendered by no other one. Now all that is engendered is imperfect. It is divisible, to increase subject and to decrease. But with the perfect one, none of these things doth hold. Now that which is increasable increases from the oneness, but succumbs through its own feebleness when it no longer can contain the one. And now, O tot, God's image hath been sketched for thee, as far as it can be. And if thou wilt attentively dwell on it, and observe it with thy heart's eyes, believe me, son, you will find the path that leads above. Nay, that image shall become thy guide itself, because the sight divine hath this particular charm. It holdeth fast and draw unto it those who succeed in opening their eyes, just as they say, the magnet draweth iron. Corpus Hermeticum, Chapter 5. Though unmanifest, God is most manifest. I will recount for thee this sermon too, O tot, that thou mayst cease to be without the mysteries of the God beyond all name. And mark thou well how that which to the many seems unmanifest will grow most manifest for thee. Now, were it manifest, it would not be, for all that is made manifest is subject to becoming, for it hath been made manifest. But the unmanifest forever is, for it doth not desire to be made manifest. It ever is, and maketh manifest all other things. Being himself unmanifest is ever being and ever making manifest. Himself is not made manifest. God is not made himself manifest by thinking manifest. He thinketh all things manifest. Now, thinking manifest deals with things made alone, for thinking manifest is nothing else than making. He, then, alone, who is not made, 'tis clear, is both beyond all power of thinking manifest, and is unmanifest. And as he thinketh all things manifest, he manifests through all things and in all, and most of all in whosoever things he wills to manifest. Do thou then, tot, my son, pray first unto our Lord and Father, the one and only one, from whom the one doth come, to show his mercy unto thee, in order that thou mayest have the power to catch a thought of this so mighty God, one single beam of him to shine into thy thinking. For thought alone sees the unmanifest, in that it itself is unmanifest. If then thou hast the power, he will tot manifest to thy mind's eyes. The Lord begrudgeth not himself to anything, but manifests himself through the whole world. Thou hast the power of taking thought, of seeing it and grasping it in thy own hands. and gazing face to face upon God's image. But if what is within thee even is unmanifest to thee, how then shall he himself, who is within thyself, be manifest for thee by means of outer eyes? But if thou wouldst see him, bethink thee of the sun, bethink thee of moon's course, bethink thee of the order of the stars. Who is the one who watcheth over that order? For every order hath its boundaries marked out by place and number. The sun's the greatest god of gods in heaven, to whom all of the heavenly gods give places unto king and master. And he, this so great one, he greater than the earth and sea, endures to have above him circling smaller stars than him. Out of fear of them, or out of respect to them, my son, doth he do this? Nor like nor equal is the course of each of the stars described in heaven. Who then is he who marketh out the manner of their course and its extent? The bear up there, that turneth round itself, and carries round the whole cosmos with it, who is the owner of this instrument? Who is he who hath set round the sea its boundaries? Who is he who hath set on its seat the earth? For taught, there is someone who is the maker and the Lord of all these things. It could not be that number, place, and measure could be kept without someone to make them. No order whatsoever could be made by that which lacketh place and lacketh measure. Nay, even this is not without a Lord, my son. For if the orderless lacks something, in that it is not lords of order's path, it also is beneath a lord, the one who hath not yet ordained it order. Would it were possible for thee to get thee wings and soar into the air, and poised midway between earth and heaven, behold the earth's solidity, the sea's fluidity, the flowing of its streams, the spaciousness of air, fire's swiftness, and the coursing of the stars, the swiftness of heaven's circuit round them all. A most blessed sight is it, my son, to see all of these beneath one sway, the motionless in motion, and the unmanifest made manifest, whereby is made this order of the cosmos, and the cosmos which we see of order. If thou wouldst see him too through things that suffer death, both on the earth and in the deep, think of a man's being fashioned in the womb, my son, and strictly scrutinize the art of him who fashions him, and learn who fashioneth this fair and godly image of the man. Who then is he who traceth out the circles of the eyes? Who is he who boreth out the nostrils and the ears? Who is he who openeth the portal of the mouth? Who is he who doth stretch out and tie the nerves? Who is he who channels out the veins? Who is he who hardened the bones? Who is he who covereth the flesh with skin? Who is he who separates the fingers and the joints? Who is he who widens out a treading for the feet? Who is he who diggeth out the ducts? Who is he who spreadeth out the spleen? Who is he who shapeth heart like to a pyramid? Who is he who setteth ribs together? Who is he who wideneth the liver out? Who is he who maketh lungs like to a sponge? Who is he who maketh belly stretch so much? And who is he who doth make prominent the parts most honorable, so that they may be seen, while hiding out of sight those of least honor? Behold how many arts employed on one material, how many labors on one single sketch, and all exceeding fair, and all in perfect measure, yet all diversified. Who made them all? What mother or what sire save God alone, unmanifest, who hath made all things by his will? And no one saith a statue or a picture comes to be without a sculptor or without a painter. Doth then such workmanship as this exist without a worker? What depth of blindness, what deep impiety, what depth of ignorance! See then that you never, my son taught, deprivest works of worker. Nay, rather, is he greater than all names, so great is he, the Father of them all. For verily he is the only one, and this his work, to be a father. So if thou forcest me somewhat too bold to speak, his being is conceiving of all things and making them. And as without its maker it is impossible that anything should be, so ever is he not unless he ever makes all things, in heaven, in air, in earth, in deep, in all of the cosmos, in every part that is, and that is not of everything. For there is not in all the world that is not he. He is himself both things that are and things that are not. The things that are he hath made manifest, and he keepeth things that are not in himself. He is the God beyond all name, he the unmanifest, he the most manifest, he whom the mind alone can contemplate, he visible unto the eyes as well. He is the one of no body, and one of many bodies, nay, rather he of every body. Naught is there which he is not, for all are he, and he is all. And for this cause hath he all names, in that they are one Father's. And for this cause hath he himself no name, in that he is Father of them all. Who then may sing thee praise of thee, or praise to thee? Whither again am I to turn my eyes to sing thy praise? Above, below, within, or without? There is no way, no place is there about thee, nor any other thing of things that are. All are in thee, all are from thee, O thou who givest all and takest not. For thou hast all, and naught is there thou hast not. And when, O Father, shall I hymn thee? For none can seize thy hour or time. For what again shall I sing him? For things that thou hast made, or things thou hast not? For things thou hast made manifest, or things thou hast concealed? How further shall I hymn thee? As being of myself, as having something of mine own, as being other? For that thou art whatever I may be, thou art whatever I may do, thou art whatever I may speak. For thou art all, and there is nothing else which thou art not. Thou art all that which doth exist, and thou art that which doth not exist, mind when thou thinkest, and Father when thou makest, and God when thou dost energize, and good and maker of all things. For that the subtler part of matter is the air, of air the soul, of soul the mind, and of mind God. Corpus Hermeticum, Chapter 6. In God alone is good, and elsewhere nowhere. Good, O Asclepius, is in none else save God alone. Nay, rather, good is God himself eternally. If it be so, good must be essence from every kind of motion and becoming free, though naught is free from it, possessed of a stable energy around itself, never too little nor too much, and ever full supply. Though one, yet is its source of all, for what supplieth all is good. When I, moreover, say supplieth altogether all, it is forever good. But this belongs to no one else save God alone. For he stands not in need of anything, so that desiring it he should be bad, nor can a single thing of things that are be lost to him, on losing which he should be pained, for pain is a part of bad. Nor is there aught superior to him, that he should be subdued by it, nor any peer to him to do him wrong, or so that he should fall in love on its account, nor aught that gives no ear to him, whereat he should grow angry, nor wiser aught for him to envy. Now as all these are non-existent in his being, what is there left but good alone? For just as naught of bad is to be found in such transcendent being, so too in no one of the rest will good be found. For in them all are all the other things, both in the little and the great, both in each severally and in this living one, that is greater than them all and mightiest of them. For things subject to birth abound in passions, birth in itself being passible. But where there is passion, nowhere is there good. And where there is good, nowhere a single passion. For where there is day, nowhere is there night. And where there is night, day is nowhere. Wherefore in Genesis the good can never be, but only be in the ingenerate. But seeing that the sharing in all things hath been bestowed on matter, so doth it share in good. In this way is the cosmos good, that, in so far as it doth make all things, as far as making goes it's good, but in all other things it is not good, for it's both passible and subject unto motion, and maker of things passible. Whereas in man, by greater or by less of bad is good determined. For what is not too bad down here is good, and good down here is the least part of bad. It cannot therefore be that good down here should be quite clean of bad, for down here good is fouled with bad, and being fouled it stays no longer good, and staying not it changes into bad. In God alone is therefore good, or rather good is God himself. So then, Asclepius, the name alone of good is found in men, the thing itself nowhere in them, for this can never be. For no material body doth contain it, a thing bound on all sides by bad, by labors, pains, desires, and passions, by error and by foolish thoughts. And the greatest ill of all, Asclepius, is that each of these things that have been said above is thought down here to be the greatest good. And what is still an even greater ill is belly lust, the error that doth lead the band of all the other ills, the thing that makes us turn down here from good. And I, for my own part, give thanks to God, that he hath cast it in my mind about the gnosis of the good, that it can never be, it should be in the world. For that the world is fullness of the bad, but God of good, and good of God. The excellencies of the beautiful are round in the very essence of the good. Nay, they do seem too pure, too unalloyed, perchance, 'tis they that are themselves its essences. For no one may dare to say, Asclepius, if essence soothe, he have God's essence in the beautiful. The beautiful is further also good. There is no good that can be got from objects in the world, for all the things that fall beneath the eye are image things and pictures as it were, while those that do not meet the eye are the realities, especially the essence of the beautiful and good. Just as the eye cannot see God, so can it not behold the beautiful and good, for that they are integral parts of God, wedded to him alone. Inseparate familiars most beloved, with whom God is himself in love, or they with God. If thou canst God conceive, thou shalt conceive the beautiful and good, transcending light made lighter than the light by God, that beauty is beyond compare, inimitate that good, even as God is himself. As then thou do conceive of God, conceive the beautiful and good, for they cannot be joined with aught of other things that live, since they can never be divorced from God. Seekest thou for God, thou seekest for the beautiful. One is the path that leadeth unto it, devotion joined with gnosis. And thus it is that they who do not know and do not tread devotion's path do dare to call man beautiful and good, though he has never even in his visions see a whit that is good, but is enwrapped with every kind of bad, and thinks the bad is good, and thus doth make unceasing use of it, and even feareth that it should be taken from him, so straining every nerve not only to preserve, but even to increase it. Such are the things that men call good and beautiful, Asclepius, things which we cannot flee or hate. For the hardest thing of all is that we have need of them and cannot live without them. Corpus Hermeticum, Chapter 7. The greatest ill among men is ignorance of God. Whither stumble ye, sots, who have sopped up the wine of ignorance unmixed, and can so far not carry it, that ye already even spew it forth? Stay ye, be sober, gaze upwards with the true eyes of the heart, and if ye cannot all, yet ye at least who can. For that the ill of ignorance doth pour over all the earth, and overwhelm the soul that's battened down within the body, preventing it from fetching port within salvation's harbors. Be then not carried off by the fierce flood, but using the shore current, ye who can, make for salvation's port, and harboring there, seek ye for one to take you by the hand, and lead you unto Gnosis gates, where shines clear light of every darkness clean, where not a single soul is drunk, but sober all they gaze with their heart's eyes on him who willeth to be seen. Nor ear can hear him, nor eye can see him, nor tongue speak of him, but only mind and heart. But first thou must tear off from thee the cloak which thou dost wear, the web of ignorance, the ground of bad, corruption's chain, the carapace of darkness, the living death, sensation's corpse, the tomb thou carriest with thee, the robber in thy house, who through the things he loveth hateth thee, and through the things he hateth bears thee malice. Such is the hateful cloak thou wearest, that throttles thee and holds thee down to it, in order that thou mayst not gaze above, and having seen the beauty of the truth and good that dwells therein, detest the bad of it, having found out the plot that it hath schemed against thee, by making void of sense those seeming things which men think senses. For that it has with mass of matter blocked them up and crammed them full of loathsome lust, so that thou mayst not hear about the things that thou should hear, nor see the things that thou should see. Corpus Hermeticum, Chapter 8. That no one of existing things doth perish, but men in error speak of their changes as destructions and as deaths. Concerning soul and body, son, we now must speak. In what way soul is deathless, and whence comes the activity in composing and dissolving the body. For there is no death for aught of things that are. The thought this word conveys is either void of fact, or simply by the knocking off of a syllable, what is called death doth stand for deathless. For death is of destruction, and nothing in the cosmos is destroyed. For if cosmos is second God, a life that cannot die, it cannot be that any part of this immortal life should die. All things in cosmos are part of the cosmos, and most of all is man, the rational animal. For truly first of all, eternal and transcending birth, is God the universal's maker. Second is he, after his image, cosmos, brought into being by him, sustained and fed by him, made deathless as by his own sire, living for aye, as ever free from death. Now that which ever liveth differs from the eternal, for he hath not been brought to being by another, and even if he have been brought to being, he hath not been brought into being by himself, but ever is brought into being. For the eternal, in that it is eternal, is the all. The Father is himself eternal of himself, but cosmos has become eternal and immortal by the Father, and of the matter stored beneath it, the Father made of it a universal body, and packing it together made it spherical, wrapping it around the life, a sphere, which is immortal in itself, and that doth make materiality eternal. But he, the Father, fulfilled with his ideas, did sow the lives into the sphere, and shut them in as in a cave, willing to order forth the life with every kind of living. So he with deathlessness enclosed the universal body, that matter might not wish to separate itself from body's composition, and so dissolve into its own original unorder. For matter, son, when it was yet incorporate, was in unorder, and it doth still remain down here this nature of unorder, enveloping the rest of the small lives that increase and decrease, which men call death. It is round earthly lives that this unorder doth exist, for that the bodies of the heavenly ones preserve one order allotted to them from the Father as their rule. And it is by the restoration of each one of them this order is preserved indissolute. The restoration then of bodies on the earth is thus their composition, whereas their dissolution restores them to those bodies which can never be dissolved, that is to say, which know no death. Privation thus of sense is brought about, not loss of bodies. Now the third life, man, after the image of the cosmos made, and having mind after the Father's will, beyond all earthly lives, not only doth have feeling with the second God, but also hath conception of the first. For of the one 'tis sensible as of a body, while of the other it conceives as bodiless and the good mind. Doth then this life not perish? Hush, son, and understand what God, what cosmos is. What is a life that cannot die, and what a life subject to dissolution? Yea, understand the cosmos is by God and in God, but man by cosmos and in cosmos. The source and limit and the constitution of all things is God. Corpus Hermeticum, Chapter 9, On Thought and Sense. I gave the perfect sermon Logos yesterday, Asclepius. Today I think it right, as sequel thereunto, to go through point by point the sermon about sense. Now sense and thought do seem to differ, in that the former has to do with matter, and the latter has to do with substance. But unto me both seem to be at one, and not to differ, in men I mean, In other lives, sense is unified with nature, but in men, sense is unified with thought. Now mind doth differ just as much from thought as God doth from divinity. For that divinity by God doth come to be, and by mind thought, the sister of the word logos, and instruments of one another. For neither doth the word logos find utterance without thought, nor is thought manifested without word. So sense and thought both flow together into man, as though they were entwined with one another. For neither without sensing can one think, nor without thinking can one sense. But it is possible, they say, to think a thing apart from sense, as those who fancy sights in dreams. But unto me it seems that both of these activities occur in dream sight, and sense doth pass out of the sleeping to the waking state. For man is separated into soul and body, and only when the two sides of his sense agree together does utterance of its thought conceived by mind take place. For it is mind that doth conceive all thoughts, good thoughts, when it receives the seeds from God. Their contraries, when it receiveth them from one of the demonials, no part of the cosmos being free of the demon, who stealthily doth creep into the daemon who is illumined by God's light, and sow in him the seed of its own energy. And mind conceives the seed thus sown: adultery, murder, parricide, and sacrilege, impiety and strangling, casting down precipices, and all such other deeds as are the work of evil demons. The seeds of God, 'tis true, are few, but vast and fair and good. Virtue and self-control, devotion. Devotion is God-gnosis, and he who knows God, being filled with all good things, thinks godly thoughts, and not thoughts like the many think. For this cause those who are Gnostic please not the many, nor do the many please them. They are thought mad and laughed at. They are hated and despised, and sometimes they are even put to death. For we did say that bad must needs dwell here on earth, where 'tis in its own place. Its place is earth, and not the cosmos, as some will sometimes say with impious tongue. But he who is a devotee of God will bear with all once he has sensed the gnosis. For such a one all things, even though they be for others bad, are for him good. Deliberately he doth refer them all unto the gnosis, and, thing most marvelous, 'tis he alone who maketh bad things good. But I return once more to the discourse. Logos, on sense. That sense doth share with thought in man, doth constitute him man. But it is not every man, as I have said, who benefits by thought, for this man is material, and that other one substantial. For the material man, as I have said, consorting with the bad, doth have his seed of thought from demons, while the substantial men, consorting with the good, are saved by God. Now God is the maker of all things, and in his making he maketh all at last like to himself. But they, while they are becoming good by exercise of their activity, are unproductive things. It is the working of the cosmic course that maketh their becomings what they are, befouling some of them with bad, and others of them making clean with good. For cosmos too, Asclepius, possesseth sense and thought peculiar to itself. It is not like to that of man, it is not so manifold, but, as it were, a better and a simpler one. The single sense and thought of cosmos is to make all things, and make them back into itself again, as organ of the will of God, so organized that it, receiving all the seeds into itself from God, and keeping them within itself may make all manifest, and then dissolving them, make them all new again. And thus, like a good gardener of life, things that have been dissolved it taketh to itself, and gives them renewal once again. There is no such thing to which it gives not life, but taking all unto itself it makes them live, and is at the same time the place of life, and its creator. Now bodies made of matter are in diversity. Some are of earth, some are of water, some are of air, and some are of fire. But they are all composed. Some are more composite, and some are simpler. The heavier ones are more composed, and the lighter ones less so. It is the speed of the cosmos course that works the manifoldness of the kinds of birth. For being a most swift breath, it doth bestow their qualities on bodies together with the one pleroma, that of life. God, then, is the sire of the cosmos, of all in cosmos, and the cosmos is God's son, but things in the cosmos are by the cosmos. And properly hath it been called cosmos, or in other words, order, for that it orders all with their diversity of birth, with its not leaving aught without its life, with the unweariedness of its activity, the speed of its necessity, the composition of its elements, and the order of its creatures. The same, then, of necessity and of propriety should have the name of order. The sense and thought, then, of all lives does come into them from without, inbreathed by what contains them all, whereas the cosmos receives them once for all together with its coming into being, and keeps them as a gift from God. But God is not, as some suppose, beyond the reach of sense and thought. It is through superstition men thus impiously speak. For all the things that are, Asclepius, all are in God, are brought by God to be, and do depend on him. Both things that act through bodies, and things that through soul substance make other things to move, and things that make things live by means of spirit, and things that take unto themselves the things that are worn out. And rightly so, nay, I would rather say, he doth not have these things, but I speak forth the truth. He is them all himself. He doth not get them from without, but gives them out from him. This is God's sense and thought, ever to move all things. And never a time will there be when even a whit of things that are shall cease. And when I say a whit of things that are, I mean a whit of God. For things that are God hath, nor aught is there without him, nor is he without aught. These things should seem to thee, Asclepius, if thou dost understand them, true. But if thou dost not understand, things not to be believed. To understand is to believe. To not believe is not to understand. My word doth go before thee to the truth, but mighty is the mind, and when it hath been led by word up to a certain point, it has the power to come before thee to the truth. And having thought over all of these things, and finding them consonant with those which have already been translated by the reason, it is even now believed, and found its rest in that fair faith. To those, then, who by God's good aid do understand the things that have been said by us above, they are credible. But unto those who understand them not, incredible. Let so much then suffice on thought and sense. Corpus Hermeticum, Chapter 10. The Key. My yesterday's discourse I did devote to thee, Asclepius, and so it is only right I should devote today's one to Tot, and this the more because it is an abridgment of the general sermon which he has had addressed to him. God, Father, and the good, then Tot, all have the same nature, or more exactly, the same energy. For nature is a predicate of growth, and used of things that change, both mobile and immobile, that is to say, both human and divine, each one of which he willeth into being. But energy consists in something else, as we have shown in treating of the rest, both things divine and human things, which things we ought to have in mind when treating of the good. God's energy is then his will. Further, his essence is to will the being of all things. For what is God and Father and the good, but the to be of all that are not yet? Nay, subsistent self of everything that is. This then is God. This Father, this the good, to him is added naught of all the rest. And though the cosmos, that is to say the sun, is also sire to those that share in him, yet so far is he not the cause of good unto the lives. He is not even of their living. So that even if he be a sire, he is entirely so by the compulsion of the good's good will, apart from which nor being nor becoming could ever be. Again, the parent is the children's cause, both on the father's and the mother's side, only by sharing in the good's desire that doth pour through the Son. It is the good which doeth the creating. And such a power can be possessed by no one else than him alone who taketh not, but wills all things to be. I will not say that he makes, for that the maker is defective for long periods, in which he sometimes makes, and sometimes doth not make, both in the quality and in the quantity of what he makes, in that he sometimes maketh them so many and such alike, and sometimes the reverse. But God and Father and the good is the cause for all to be. So are at least these things for those who can see. For it doth will to be, and it is both itself, and most of all by reason of itself. Indeed, all other things beside are just because of it, for the distinctive feature of the good is that it should be known. And such is the good, O taught. Thou hast, O Father, filled us so full of this so good and fairest sight, that thereby my mind's eye hath now become for me almost a thing to worship. For that the vision of the good doth not, like the sun's beams, fire-like blaze on the eyes and make them close. Nay, on the contrary, it shineth forth and maketh to increase the seeing of the eye, as far as ever a man hath the capacity to hold the inflow of the radiance that the mind alone can see. Not only does it come more swiftly down to us, but it does us no harm, and is instinct with all immortal life. They who are able to drink in more of this sight than others, oftentimes from out of the body fall asleep into this fairest spectacle, as was the case with Uranus and Cronus, our forebears. May this be our lot too, O Father of mine. Yea, may it be, my son, but as it is, we are not yet strung to the vision. And not as of yet do we have the power in our mind's eye to unfold and gaze upon the beauty of the good, beauty that naught can ever corrupt or any comprehend. For only then wilt thou upon it gaze when thou canst say no word concerning it. For gnosis of the good is holy silence, and a giving holiday to every sense. For neither can he who perceiveth it perceive aught else, nor he who gazeth on it gaze on aught else, nor hear aught else, nor stir his body any way, staying his body's every sense, and every motion he stayeth still, and shining them all around his mind. It shines through his whole soul, and it draws out of body, transforming all of him to essence. For it is possible, my son, that a man's soul should be made like to God's, even while it still is in a body, if it doth contemplate the beauty of the good. Made like to God, what dost thou, Father, mean? Of every soul apart are transformations, son. What meanest thou apart? Didst thou not, in the general sermons, hear that from one soul, the all-soul, come all of these souls which are made to revolve in all the cosmos, as though they were divided off? Of these souls, then, it is that there are many changes, some to a happier lot, and some to just the contrary of this. Thus some that were once creeping things change into things that in the water dwell. The soul of water things change to earth dwellers. Those that live on earth change into things with wings, and souls that live in air change into men. While humans who reach the first step of deathlessness are changed into daemons. And so they circle to the choir of the inerrant gods. For of the gods there are two choirs, the one inerrant, and the other errant, and this is the most perfect glory of the soul. But if a soul on entering in the body of a man persisteth in its vice, it neither tastes deathlessness nor shareth in the good, but speeding back again it turns into the path that leads to creeping things. This is the sentence of the vicious soul. And the soul's vice is ignorance. For that the soul who hath no knowledge of the things that are, or knowledge of their nature or of good, is blinded by the body's passions and tossed about. This wretched soul, not knowing what she is, becomes the slave of bodies of strange form and sorry plight, bearing the body as a load, not as the ruler, but the ruled. This ignorance is the soul's vice. But on the other hand, the virtue of the soul is gnosis. For he who knows, he good and pious is, and still, while on earth, divine. But who is such a one, O Father of mine? He who doth not say much, or lend his ear to much. For he who spendeth time in arguing and hearing arguments doth shadow fight. For God, the Father and the good, is not to be obtained by speech or hearing. And yet though this is so, there are in all beings senses, in that they cannot without senses be. But gnosis is far different from sense. For sense is brought about by that which hath the mastery over us, while gnosis is the end of science, and science is God's gift. All science is incorporeal, the instrument it uses being the mind, just as the mind employs the body. Both then come into bodies. I mean, both things that are cognizable by mind alone and things material. For all things must consist out of antithesis and contrariety, and this can otherwise not be. Who then is this material God of whom thou speakest? The cosmos is beautiful, but it is not good. For that it is material and freely passable, and though it is the first of all things passable, yet is it in the second rank of being and wanting in itself. And though it never hath itself its birth in time, but ever is, yet is its being in becoming, becoming for all time the genesis of qualities and quantities, for it is mobile, and all material motions genesis. It is intelligible rest that moves material motion in this way, since cosmos is a sphere, that is to say, a head, and not of heads above material, as not of feet below is intelligible, but all material, and head itself moved in a sphere-like way, that is to say, as head should move, is mind. All then that are united to the tissue of this head, in which is soul, are in their nature free from death. Just as body hath been made in soul, are things that have more soul than body. Whereas those things which are at greater distance from this tissue, there, where things which have a greater share of body than of soul, are by their nature subject to death. The whole, however, is a life, so that the universe consists of both the hylic and of the intelligible. Again, the cosmos is the first of living things, while man is second after it, though first of things subject to death. Man hath the same ensouling power in him as all the rest of living things. Yet is he not only not good, but even evil, for that he is subject unto death. For though the cosmos also is not good in that it suffers motion, it is not evil in that it is not subject unto death. But man, in that he is subject to both motion and death, is evil. Now then, the principles of man are this wise vehicled: mind in the reason, logos, the reason in the soul, soul in the spirit, and spirit in the body. Spirit pervading body by means of veins and arteries and blood, bestows upon the living creature motion, and as it were doth bear it in a way. For this cause some do think the soul is blood, in that they do mistake its nature, not knowing that at death it is the spirit that must first withdraw into the soul, whereon the blood congeals and veins and arteries are emptied, and then the living creature is withdrawn, and this is the body's death. Now from one source all things depend, while source dependeth from the one and only one. Source is, moreover, moved to become source again, whereas the one standeth perpetually and is not moved. Three then are they: God, the Father, and the good, cosmos and man. God doth contain cosmos, cosmos containeth man. The cosmos is ever God's son, and man as it were the cosmos' child. Not that, however, God ignoreth man, nay, right well he know him, and willeth to be known by him. This is the sole salvation for a man, God's gnosis. This is the way up to the mountain. By him alone the soul becometh good, not whiles is good, whiles evil, but good out of necessity. What dost thou mean, thrice greatest one? Behold an infant soul, my son, that is not yet cut off, because its body is still small and not as yet come into its full bulk. How? A thing of beauty altogether is such a soul to see, not yet befouled by body's passions, still all but hanging from the cosmic soul. But when the body grows in bulk, and draweth down the soul into its mass, then doth the soul cut off itself, and bring upon itself forgetfulness, and no more shareth in the beautiful and good, and this forgetfulness becomes vice. It is the same for them who go out from the body. For when the soul withdraws into itself, the spirit doth contract itself within the blood, and the soul within the spirit, and then the mind, stripped of its wrappings and naturally divine, taking unto itself a fiery body, doth traverse every space, after abandoning the soul unto its judgment, and whatever chastisement it hath deserved. What dost thou, Father, mean by this? The mind is parted from the soul, and the soul from spirit? Whereas thou said the soul was the mind's vesture, and the soul's the spirit. The hearer, son, should think with him who speaks, and breathe with him. Nay, he should have a hearing subtler than the voice of him who speaks. It is, son, in a body made of earth that this arrangement of the vestures comes to pass. For in a body made of earth, It is impossible the mind should take its seat itself by its own self in nakedness. For neither is it possible, on the one hand, the earthly body should contain such immortality, nor on the other that so great a virtue should endure a body passible in such close contact with it. It taketh then the soul for, as it were, an envelope, and soul itself, being too a thing divine, doth use the spirit as its envelope, while spirit doth pervade the living creature. When then the mind doth free itself from the earth body, it straightway putteth on its proper robe of fire, with which it could not dwell in an earth body. For earth doth not bear fire, for it is all set in a blaze even by a small spark. And for this cause is water poured round earth, to be a guard and wall, to keep the blazing of the fire away. But mind, the swiftest thing of all divine outthinkings, and swifter than all elements, has for its body fire. For mind, being the builder, doth use the fire as a tool for the construction of all things, the mind of all for the construction of all things, but that of man only for things on earth. Stripped of its fire, the mind on earth cannot make things divine, for it is human in its dispensation. The soul in man, however, not every soul, but one that is pious, is a demonic something and divine. And such a soul, when from the body is freed, if it have fought the fight of piety, the fight of piety is to know God and to do wrong to no man, such soul becomes entirely mind, whereas the impious soul remains in its own essence, chastised by its own self, and seeking for an earthly body where to enter, if only it be human. For that no other body can contain a human soul, nor is it right that any human soul should fall into the body of a thing that doth possess no reason. For that the law of God is this, to guard the human soul from such tremendous outrage. How then, Father, is a man's soul chastised? What greater chastisement of any soul can there be, son, than lack of piety? What fire has so fierce flame as lack of piety? What ravenous beast so mauls the body as lack of piety the very soul? Dost thou not see what host of ills the impious soul doth bear? It shrieks and screams, I burn, I am ablaze. I know not what to cry or do. Wretched me, I am devoured by all the ills that compass me about. Alack, poor me, I neither see nor hear. Such are the cries wrung from a soul chastised, not as the many think, and thou, son, dost suppose, that a man's soul passing from body is changed into a beast. But such an idea is a very grave mistake, for that the way a soul doth suffer chastisement is this. When mind becomes a daemon, the law requires that it should take a fiery body to execute the services of God, and entering in the soul most impious, it scourgeth it with whips made of its sins. And then the impious soul, scourged with its sins, is plunged into murders, outrage, blasphemy, in violence of all kinds, and all the other things whereby mankind is wronged. But on the pious soul the mind doth mount and guide it to the gnosis light. And such a soul doth never tire in songs of praise to God, and pouring blessings on all men, and doing good in word and deed to all, in imitation of its sire. Wherefore, my son, thou should give praise to God, and pray that thou may have thy mind a good mind. It is then to a better state the soul doth pass, it cannot to a worse. Further, there is an intercourse of souls. Those of the gods have intercourse with those of men, and those of men with souls of creatures which possess no reason. The higher, further, have in charge the lower. The gods look after men, men after irrational animals, and while God hath charge of it all, for he is higher than them all, and all are less than he. The cosmos is subject then to God, man to the cosmos, and irrationals to man. But God is over all of them, and God contains all of them. God's rays, to use a figure of speech, are his energies. The cosmos are nature's, the arts and sciences are man's. The energies act through the cosmos, thence through the nature rays of cosmos upon man. The nature rays act through the elements, and man acteth through the sciences and arts. This is the dispensation of the universe, depending from the nature of the one, pervading all things through the mind, than which is not diviner or of greater energy, and not a greater means for the at-oneing men to gods, and gods to men. He, mind, is the good daemon. Blessed the soul that is most filled with him, and wretched is the soul that is empty of the mind. Father, what dost thou mean again? Do you think, son, that every soul has a good mind? For it is of him we speak, not of the mind in service of which we just were speaking, the mind sent down for the soul's chastisement. For soul without the mind can neither speak nor act, for oftentimes the mind doth leave the soul, and at that time the soul nor sees nor understands, but is just like a thing that hath no reason. Such is the power of mind. Yet doth it not endure a sluggish soul, but leaveth such a soul tied to the body and bound tight down by it. Such soul, my son, does not have mind, and therefore such a one should not be called a man, for that man is a thing of life divine. Man is not measured with the rest of lives of things upon the earth, but with the lives of things above in heaven, who are called gods. Nay, more, if we must boldly speak the true man is even higher than the gods, or at the very least, the gods and men are every whit in power each with the other equal. For no one of the gods in heaven shall come down on the earth, overstepping heaven's limit, whereas man doth mount up to heaven and measure it. He knows what things of it are high, what things are low, and learns precisely all else things beside. And greater thing than all, without even quitting earth, he does ascend above. So vast a sweep doth he possess of ecstasy. For this cause can a man dare say that man on earth is God subject to death, while God in heaven is man from death immune. Wherefore, the dispensation of all things is brought about by means of these, the twain, cosmos and man, but by the one. Corpus Hermeticum, Chapter 11. Mind unto Hermes. Master this sermon, then, thrice greatest Hermes, and bear in mind the spoken words, and as it hath come unto me to speak, I will no more delay. As many men say many things, and these diverse about the all and good, I have not learned the truth. Make it then clear to me, O Master of mine, for I can trust the explanation of these things, which comes from thee alone. Hear then, my son, how standeth God and all. God, aeon, cosmos, time, becoming. God maketh aeon, aeon cosmos, cosmos time, and time becoming. The good, the beautiful, wisdom, blessedness, is essence, as it were, of God, of aeon, sameness of cosmos, order of time, change, and of becoming, life and death. The energies of God are mind and soul, of aeon lastingness and deathlessness, of the cosmos restoration and the opposite thereof, of time increase and decrease, and of becoming quality. Aeon is, then, in God. Cosmos is in aeon. In the cosmos is time, and in time is becoming. The aeon stands firm round God. The cosmos is moved in the aeon. Time hath its limits in the cosmos, and becoming doth become in time. The source, therefore, of all is God. Their essence, aeon, their matter, cosmos. God's power is aeon, and aeon's work is cosmos, which never hath become, yet ever doth become by aeon. Therefore will the cosmos never be destroyed, for the aeon is indestructible, nor doth the wit of things in cosmos perish, for cosmos is enwrapped by aeon round on every side. But God's wisdom, what is that? The good and beautiful, and blessedness, and virtues all and aeon. Aeon then ordereth cosmos, imparting deathlessness and lastingness to matter. For its becoming doth depend on aeon, as aeon doth depend on God. Now Genesis and time, in heaven and on earth, are of two natures. In heaven they are unchangeable and indestructible, but on the earth they are subject unto change and to destruction. Further, the aeon soul is God, the cosmos soul is aeon, the earth soul, heaven. And God is in mind in soul, and soul in matter, and all of them through aeon. But all of this body, in which are all the bodies, is full of soul, and the soul is full of mind, and the mind is full of God. It fills it from within, and from without encircles it, making the all to live. Without this vast and perfect life encircles cosmos. Within, it fills it with all lives above, in heaven, continuing in sameness, below on earth, changing, becoming. And aeon doth preserve this cosmos, or by necessity, or by foreknowledge, or by nature, or by whatever else a man supposes, or shall suppose. And all is this, God energizing. The energy of God is power that naught can ever surpass, a power with which no one can make comparison of any human thing at all, or anything divine. Wherefore, O Hermes, never think that aught of things above or things below is like to God, for thou wilt fall from the truth. For naught is like to that which hath no like, and is alone and one. And do not ever think that any other can possibly possess his power. For what apart from him is there of life, and deathlessness, and change of quality? For what else should he make? God is not inactive, since all things then would lack activity, for all are full of God. But neither in the cosmos anywhere, nor in aught else is there inaction. For that inaction is a name that cannot be applied to either what doth make or what is made. But all things must be made, both ever made, and also in accordance with the influence of every space. For he who makes is in them all, not established in some one of them, nor making one thing only, but making all. For being power, he energizeth in the things he makes, and is not independent of them, although the things he makes are subject unto him. Now gaze through me upon the cosmos that is now subject to your sight. Regard its beauty carefully, body in pure perfection, though one than which there is no one more ancient, ever in the prime of life, and ever young, nay, rather in even fuller and yet fuller prime. Behold again the 7 subject worlds, ordered by aeon's order, and with their varied course fulfilling aeon. See how all things are full of light, and nowhere is there fire, for it is the love and blending of the contraries and the dissimilars that doth give birth to light down shining by the energy of God, the Father of all good, the leader of all order, and ruler of the 7 world orderings. Behold the moon, forerunner of them all, the instrument of nature and the transmuter of its lowest matter. Look at the earth set in the midst of all, foundation of the cosmos, beautiful, feeder and nurse of things on earth, and contemplate the multitudes of deathless lives, how great it is, and that of lives subject unto death, and midway between both, immortal lives and mortal, see thou the circling moon. And all are full of soul, and all are moved by it, each in its own proper way, some around the heaven, others round the earth. See how the right move not unto left, nor yet the left unto the right, nor the above below, nor the below above, and that all these are subject unto Genesis. My dearest Hermes, thou hast no longer need to learn of me, for that they bodies are, have souls, and they are moved. But it is impossible for them to come together into one without some one to bring them all together. It must then be that such a one as this must be someone who is wholly one. For as the many motions of them all are different, and as their bodies are not yet like, yet has one speed been ordered for them all. It is impossible that there should be 2 or more makers for them, for that one single order is not kept among the many, but rivalry will follow of the weaker with the stronger, and they will strive. And if the maker of the lives that suffer change and death should be another, he would desire to make the deathless ones as well, just as the maker of the deathless ones, to make the lives that suffer death. But come, if there be 2, if matter is one and soul is one, in whose hands would there be the distribution for the making? Again, if both of them have some of it, in whose hands may there be the greater part? But thus conceive it then, that every living body doth consist of soul and matter, whether that be body of an immortal or a mortal or an irrational life. For that all living bodies are ensouled, whereas, upon the other hand, those that live not are matter by itself. And in like fashion, soul when in itself is, after its own maker, cause of life. But the cause of all life is he who makes the things that cannot die. How then is it that first lives subject unto death are other than the deathless ones? And next, how is it that the life which knows no death and maketh deathlessness did not make animals immortal? First, that there is someone who does these things is clear. And next, that he is also one is very manifest. For also soul is one, and life is one, and matter is one. But who is he? Who may it other be than the one God? Whom else should it be seem to put soul into lives but God alone? One then is God. It would indeed be most ridiculous If when thou dost confess the cosmos to be one, sun one, moon one, and the Godhead one, thou should wish God himself to be some one or other of a number. All things, therefore, he makes in many ways. And what a great thing it is for God to make life, soul, and deathlessness and change, when thou thyself dost do so many things. For thou dost see, and speak, and hear, and smell, and taste, and touch, and walk. You think, and you breathe. And it is not one man who smells, a second one who speaks, a third who touches, another man who smells, another man who walks, another one who thinks, and yet another one who breathes. But one is he who doeth all these. And yet no one of these could be apart from God. For just as thou shouldst cease from these, thou would no longer be a living thing, and so also should God cease from them, a thing, not law to say. Then no longer is he God. For if it hath been shown that no thing can inactive be, how much less God? For if there is aught he doth not make, if it be law to say, he is imperfect. But if he is not only not inactive, but the perfect God, then he doth make all things. Give thou thyself to me, my Hermes, for a little while, and thou shalt understand more easily how that God's work is one, in order that all things may be, that are being made, or once have been, or that are going to be made. And this is my beloved life. This is the beautiful. This is the good. This is God. And if them would in practice understand this work, behold what taketh place with thee desiring to beget. Yet this is not like unto that, for he doth not enjoy. For that indeed he hath no other one to share in what he works, for working by himself he ever is at work, himself being what he doth. For did he separate himself from it, all things would then collapse, and all must die, life ceasing. But if all things are lives, and also life is all one, then one is God. And furthermore, if all are lives, both those in heaven and those on earth, and one life is them all is made to be by God, and God is it then? All are made by God. Life is the making one of mind and soul. Accordingly, death is not the destruction of those that are at one, but simply the dissolving of their union. The aeon, moreover, is God's image. Cosmos is aeons, the son of cosmos, and man, the image of the sun. The people call change death, because the body is dissolved, and life, when it is dissolved, withdraws to the unmanifest. But in this sermon, Hermes, my beloved, as thou dost hear, I say the cosmos also suffers change, for that a part of it each day is made to be in the unmanifest, yet it is never dissolved. These are the passions of the cosmos, revolvings and concealments, revolving in conversion, and concealment renovation. The cosmos is all formed, not having forms external to itself, but changing them itself within itself. Since then, the cosmos is made to be all formed, what may its maker be? For that, on the one hand, he should not be void of all form, and on the other hand, if he is all formed, he will be like the cosmos. Whereas again, if he has a single form, he will thereby be less than the cosmos. What then do we say he is, that we may not bring around our sermon into doubt? For naught that mind conceives of God is doubtful. He then hath one idea, which is his own alone, which doth not fall beneath the sight, being bodiless, and yet by means of bodies manifesteth all ideas, and marvel is not that there is a bodiless idea. For it is like the form of reason, and mountain tops and pictures, for they appear to stand out strongly from the rest, but really are quite smooth and flat. And now consider what is said more boldly, but more truly. Just as man cannot live apart from life, so neither can God live without his doing good. For this is, as it were, the life and motion, as it were, of God, to move all things and to make them live. Now some of the things said should bear a sense peculiar to themselves. So understand, for instance, what I am going to say. All are in God, but not as lying in a place. For place is both a body and immovable, and things that lie do not have motion. Now things lie one way in the bodiless, another way in being made manifest. Think then of him who doth contain them all, and think that than the bodiless naught is more comprehensive, or swifter, or more potent, but it is the most comprehensive, the swiftest and most potent of them all. And thus think from thyself, and bid thy soul go unto any land, and there more quickly than thy bidding will it be. And bid it journey oceanwards, and there again, immediately it will be, not as if passing on from place to place, but as if being there. And bid it also mount to heaven, and it will need no wings, nor will aught hinder it, nor fire of sun, nor ether, nor vortex swirl, nor bodies of the other stars. But cutting through them all, it will soar up to the last body of them all. And should thou will to break through this as well, and contemplate what is beyond, if there be aught beyond the cosmos, it is permitted to thee. Behold what power, what swiftness thou dost have. And canst thou do all of these things, and God not do them? Then in this way know God, as having all things in himself as thoughts, the whole cosmos itself. If then thou dost not make thyself like unto God, thou cannot know him, for like is knowable to like alone. Make then thyself to grow to the same stature as the greatness which transcends all measure. Leap forth from every body, transcend all time, become eternity, and thus thou shalt know God. Conceiving nothing is impossible unto thyself. Think thyself deathless and able to know all arts, all sciences, the way of every life. Become more lofty than all height, and lower than all depth. Collect into thyself all senses of all creatures, of fire and water, dry and moist. Think that thou art at the same time in every place, in earth, in sea, in sky, not yet begotten, in the womb, young, old, and dead, in after death conditions. And if thou know all these things at once, all these times, places, doings, qualities, and quantities, thou can know God. But if thou lockest up thy soul within thy body, and dost debase it, saying, Nothing I know, nothing I can, I fear the sea, I cannot scale the sky, I know not who I was, who I shall be, what is there then between thy God and thee? For thou can know naught of things beautiful and good, so long as thou dost love thy body and are bad. But the greatest bad there is not to know the good of God, but to be able to know good, and will and hope is a straight way, the good's own path, both leading there and easy. If thou but settest thy foot thereon, 'twill meet thee everywhere, 'twill everywhere be seen, both where and when thou dost not expect it. Waking, sleeping, sailing, journeying, by night, by day, speaking and saying naught, for there is naught that is not image of the good. Is God unseen? Hush! Who is more manifest than he? For this one reason hath he made all things, that through them all thou mayst see him. This is the good of God, and this is his virtue, that he may be made manifest through all. For naught's unseen, even of things that are without a body. Mind sees itself in thinking, God in making. So far these things have been made manifest to thee, thrice greatest one. Reflect on all the rest in the same way within thyself, and thou shalt not be led astray. Corpus Hermeticum, Chapter 12, about the common mind. The mind, O taught, is of God's very essence, if such a thing as essence of God there be. And what that is, it and only it knows precisely. The mind, then, is not separated off from God's essentiality, but is united unto it, as light to sun. This mind in men is God, and for this cause some of mankind are gods, and their humanity is nigh unto divinity. For the good demon said, Gods are immortal men, and men are mortal gods. But in irrational lives mind is their nature. For where is soul, there too is mind. Just as where life, there is there also soul. But in irrational lives their soul is devoid of mind. For mind is the inworker of the souls of men for good. He works on them for their own good. In lives irrational, he doth cooperate with each one's nature, but in the souls of men he counteracteth them. For every soul, when it becomes embodied, is instantly depraved by pleasure and by pain. For in a compound body, just like juices, pain and pleasure seethe, and into them the soul, on entering it, is plunged. Over whatsoever souls the mind doth then preside, to these it showeth its own light, by acting counter to their prepossessions, just as a good physician doth upon the body prepossessed by sickness, pain inflict, burning or lancing it for the sake of health. In just the self-same way the mind inflicteth pain upon the soul, to rescue it from pleasure, whence comes its every ill. The great ill of the soul is godlessness. Then followeth fancy for all evil things and nothing good. And so then, mind counteracting it, doth work good on the soul, as the physician health upon the body. But whatsoever human souls have not the mind as pilot, they share in the same fate as souls of lives irrational. For mind becomes co-worker with them, giving full play to the desires towards which such souls are born. Desires that from the rush of lust strain after the irrational, so that such human souls, just like irrational animals, cease not irrationally to rage and lust, nor ever are they satiate of ills. For passions and irrational desires are ills exceedingly great, and over these God hath set up the mind to play the part of judge and executioner. In that case, Father of mine, the teaching logos as to fate, which previously you did explain to me, risks to be overset. For that if it be absolutely fated for a man to fornicate, or commit sacrilege, or do some other evil deed, why is he punished, when he hath done the deed from fate's necessity? All works, my son, are fate's. and without fate naught of things corporal, or good or ill can come to pass. But it is fated too, that he who doeth ill shall suffer, and for this cause he doth it, that he may suffer what he suffereth, because he did it. But for the moment taught, let be the teachings as to vice and fate. For we have spoken of these things in other of our sermons, but now our teaching is about the mind, what mind can do, and how it is so different, in men being such and such, and in irrational lives so changed. And then again, that in irrational lives it is not of a beneficial nature, but while the mind is in men, it quencheth out the wrathful and the lustful elements. Of men again, we must class some as led by reason, and others as unreasoning. But all men are subject to fate, and genesis and change, for these are the beginning and the end of fate. And though all men do suffer fated things, those led by reason, those whom we said the mind doth guide, do not endure like suffering with the rest, but since they have freed themselves from viciousness, not being bad, they do not suffer bad. How meanest thou again, my father? Is not the fornicator bad, the murderer bad, and so with all the rest? I meant not that, but that the mind-led man, my son, though not a fornicator, will suffer just as though he had committed fornication, and though he be no murderer, as though he has committed murder. The quality of change he can no more escape than that of genesis, but it is possible for one who hath the mind to free himself from vice. Wherefore I have ever heard, my son, the good demon also says, and had he set it down in written words, he would have greatly helped the race of men. For he alone, my son, doth truly, as the firstborn God, gazing upon all things, give voice to words. Yea, once I heard him say, all things are one, and most of all the bodies which the mind alone perceives. Our life is owing to God's energy and power and aeon. His mind is good, so is his soul as well. And this being so, intelligible things know not of separation. So then, mind, being ruler of all things, and being the soul of God, can do whatever it wills. So do thou understand, and carry back this word unto the question thou did ask me before. I mean about the mind's fate. For if thou dost with accuracy, son, eliminate all capitious arguments, thou wilt discover that of very truth the mind, the soul of God, doth rule over all, over fate and law, and all things else, and nothing is impossible to it, neither over fate to set a human soul, nor under fate to set a soul neglectful of what comes to pass. Let this so far suffice from the good Damon's most good words. Yea, words divinely spoken, my father, truly and helpfully. But further still, explain to me this. Thou said that mind in lives irrational worked in them as their nature, co-working with their impulses. But impulses of lives irrational, as I do think, are passions. Now, if the mind co-works with these impulses, and if the impulses of lives irrational are passions, then is mind also passion, taking its color from the passions? Well put, my son. Thou questionest right nobly, and it is just that I as well shall answer nobly. All things incorporeal, when in a body, are subject unto passion, and in the proper sense they are themselves all passions. For everything that moves another is incorporeal, while everything that is moved is in a body. Incorporeals are further moved by mind, and movement's passion, Both then are subject unto passion, both mover and the moved, the former being ruler and the latter being the ruled. But when a man hath freedom himself from his body, then is he also freed from his passions. But more precisely, my son, naught is impassible, but all are passable. Yet passion differeth from passibility, for that the one is active while the other is passive. Incorporeals, moreover, act upon themselves, for either they are motionless or they are moved. But whichsoever it be, it is passion. But bodies are invariably acted upon, and therefore they are passible. Do not then let terms trouble thee. Action and passion are both the self-same thing. To use the fairest sounding term, however, does no harm. Most clearly have thee, Father of mine, set forth this teaching. Consider this as well, my son, that these two things God hath bestowed on man beyond all mortal lives, both mind and speech, equal to immortality. He hath the mind for knowing God, and uttered speech for eulogy of him. And if one useth these for what he ought, he'll differ not a whit from the immortals. Nay, rather, on departing from the body, he will be guided by the twain unto the choir of gods and the blessed ones. Why, Father of mine, do not the other lives make use of speech? Nay, son, but rather use of voice. Speech is far different from voice. For speech is general among all men, while voice doth differ in each class of living thing. But with men also, Father of mine, according to each race speech differs. Yea, son, but man is one, so also speech is one, and is interpreted, and it is found the same in Egypt, and in Persia, and in Greece. Thou seemest, son, to be in ignorance of reason's worth and greatness. For that the blessed God, good Damon, hath declared, soul is in body, mind in soul. But reason is in mind, and mind in God, and God is the Father of all these. The reason, then, is the mind's image, and mind is God's image, while body is the image of the form, and form the image of the soul. The subtlest part of matter is, then, air, of air soul, of soul mind, and of mind God. And God surroundeth all, and permeateth all, while mind surrounds soul, soul air, air matter. Necessity and providence and nature are instruments of cosmos and of matter's ordering, while of intelligible things each is essence, and sameness is their essence. But of the bodies of the cosmos each is many, for through possessing sameness, these composed bodies, though they do change from one into another of themselves, do nathless ever keep the incorruption of their sameness. Whereas in all the rest of composed bodies, of each there is a certain number, for without number structure cannot be, or compositions, or decomposition. Now it is units that give birth to number and increase it, and being decomposed are taken back again into themselves. Matter is one, and this whole cosmos, the mighty God and image of the mightier one, both with him unified, and the conserver of the will and order of the Father, is filled full of life. Naught is there in it throughout the entire aeon the Father's everlasting re-establishment, nor of the whole, nor of its parts, which doth not live. For not a single thing that is dead hath been, or is, or shall be in this cosmos. For that the Father willed it should have life as long as it should be, wherefore it needs must be a God. How then, O Son, could there be in the God the image of the Father, in the plenitude of life, dead things? For that death is corruption, and corruption is destruction. How then could any part of that which knoweth no corruption be corrupted, or any whit of him the God destroyed? Do they not then, my Father, die, the lives in it that are its parts? Hush, son, led into error by the term in use for what takes place. They do not die, my son, but are dissolved as compound bodies. Now dissolution is not death, but dissolution of a compound. It is dissolved not so that it may be destroyed, but that it may become renewed. For what is the activity of life? Is it not motion? What then in the cosmos is there that has no motion? There is nothing without motion, son. Doth not earth even, my Father, seem to thee to have no motion? Nay, son, but rather that she is the only thing which, though in very rapid motion, is also stable. For how would it not be a thing to laugh at, that the nurse of all should have no motion, when she engenders and brings forth all things? For it is impossible that without motion one who doth engender should do so. That thou should ask if the fourth part is not inert is most ridiculous, for that the body which doth have no motion gives sign of nothing but inertia. Know, therefore, generally, my son, that all that is in the cosmos is being moved for decrease or for increase. Now that which is kept moving also lives, but there is no necessity that that which lives should be all same. For being simultaneous, the cosmos as a whole is not subject to change, my son, but all of its parts are subject unto it, yet not of it is subject to corruption or destroyed. It is the terms that we use that confuse men, for it is not genesis that constitueth life, but it is sensation. It is not change that constitueth death, but it is forgetfulness. Since then these things are so, they are all immortal. Matter and life and spirit, mind and soul, of which whatever liveth is composed. Whatever then doth live, oweth its immortality unto the mind, and most of all doth man, he who is both recipient of God and coessential with him. For with this life alone doth God consort, by visions in the night, by tokens in the day, and by all things doth he foretell the future unto him. By birds, by inward parts, by wind and by tree. Wherefore doth man lay claim to know things past, things present, and things to come? Observe this too, my son, that each one of the other lives inhabiteth one portion of the cosmos. Aquatic creatures water, terrene earth, and airy creatures air, while man doth use all of these. Earth, water, air, and fire. He seeth heaven too, and doth contact it with his sense. But God surroundeth all, and permeateth all. For he is energy and power, and it is nothing difficult, my son, to conceive God. But if thou wouldst him also contemplate, behold the ordering of the cosmos, and see the orderly behavior of its ordering. Behold thou the necessity of things made manifest, and see the providence of things become, and things becoming. Behold how matter is all full of life. Behold this so great God in movement, with all the good and noble ones, gods, daemons, and men. But these are purely energies, O Father of mine. If then they are purely energies, my son, by whom then are they energized except by God? Or art thou ignorant that just as heaven, earth, water, air are parts of the cosmos, in just the self-same way God's parts are life and immortality, and energy and spirit, and necessity and providence, and nature, soul and mind, and the duration of all these that is called good? And there is naught of things that have become, or are becoming, in which God is not. Is he also within matter, Father? Matter, my son, is separate from God, in order that thou may attribute unto it the quality of space. But what thing else than mass think thou it is, if it is not energized? Whereas, if it be energized, by whom is it made so? For energies, we said, are parts of God. By whom are then all lives enlivened? By whom are things immortal made immortal? And by whom changed things made changeable? And whether thou do speak of matter, or of body, or of essence, know that these two are energies of God, and that materiality is matter's energy, that corporeality is body's energy, and that essentiality doth constitute the energy of essence, and this is God, the All. And in the All is naught that is not God. Wherefore nor size, nor space, nor quality, nor form, nor time surroundeth God, for he is all, and all surroundeth all, and permeateth all. Unto this reason, Son, thy adoration and thy worship pay. There is one way alone to worship God. It is not to be bad. Corpus Hermeticum, Chapter 13. The Secret Sermon on the Mountain. Now in the general sermons, Father, thou didst speak in riddles most unclear, conversing on divinity, and when thou saidst no man could ever be saved before rebirth, thy meaning thou didst hide. Further, when I became thy suppliant in wending up the mountain, after thou had conversed with me, and when I longed to learn this sermon on rebirth, for this beyond all other things is just the thing I know not, thou said that thou would give it me, when thou shalt have become a stranger to the world. Wherefore I got me ready and made the thought in me a stranger to the world illusions. And now do thou fill up the things that fall short in me with what thou saidst would give me the tradition of rebirth, setting it forth in speech or in secret way. I know not, O thrice greatest one, from out what matter and what womb man comes to birth, or of what seed. Wisdom that understands in silence, such is the matter in the womb from out of which man is born, and the true good the seed. Who is the sower, Father? For I am altogether at a loss. It is the will of God, my son. And of what kind is he that is begotten, Father? For I have no share of that essence in me, which doth transcend the senses. The one that is begot will be another one from God, God's Son, all in all, out of all powers composed. Thou tellest me a riddle, Father, and dost not speak as Father unto Son. This race, my son, is never taught, but when he willeth it, its memory is restored by God. Thou sayest impossible things, O Father, things that are forced. Hence answers what I have direct unto these things. Am I a son strange to my father's race? Keep it not, Father, back from me. I am a true-born son. Explain to me the manner of rebirth. What may I say, my son? I can but tell thee this. Whenever I see within myself the simple vision, brought to birth out of God's mercy, I have passed through myself into a body that can never die. And now I am not what I was before, but I am born in mind. The way to do this is not taught. and it cannot be seen by the compounded elements by means of which thou seest. Yea, I have had my former composed form dismembered for me. I am no longer touched, yet I have touch. I am dimension too, and yet I am a stranger to them now. Thou seest me with thy eyes, my son, but what I am thou dost not understand, even with fullest strain of body and of sight. Into fierce frenzy and mind fury hast thou plunged me, Father, for now no longer do I see myself. I would, my son, that thou hadst even passed through thyself, as thy who dream in sleep yet sleepless. Tell me this too, who is the author of rebirth? The Son of God, the one man by God's will. Now hast thou brought me, Father, unto pure stupefaction, arrested from the senses which I had before, for now I see thy greatness identical with thy distinctive form. Even in this thou art untrue. The mortal form doth change with every day. It is turned by time to grow and waning, as being an untrue thing. What then is true, thrice greatest one? That which is never troubled, son, which cannot be defined, that which no color has, nor any figure, which is not turned, which hath no garment, which giveth light, that which is comprehensible unto itself alone, which doth not suffer change, that which no body can contain. In very truth I lose my reason, Father. Just when I thought to be made wise by thee, I find the senses of this mind of mine locked up. Thus is it, son, that which is upward born like fire, yet is borne down like earth, that which is moist like water, yet blows like air. How shalt thou perceive with sense that which is not solid nor yet moist, which naught can bind or loose, of which in power and energy alone can man have any notion? And even then it wants a man who can perceive the way of birth in God. Am I incapable of this, O my Father? Nay, God forbid, my son. Withdraw into thyself, and it will come. Will, and it comes to pass. Throw out of work the body's senses, and thy divinity shall come to birth. Purge from thyself the brutish torments, things of matter. I have tormentors then in me, O Father. I, no few, my son, nay, fearful ones and manifold. I do not know them, Father. Torment, the first thing is not knowing, son. The second is grief. The third, intemperance. Fourth is concupiscence. The fifth, unrighteousness. The sixth is avarice. The seventh, error. The eighth is envy. The ninth, guile. The 10th is anger. 11th, rashness. The 12th is malice. These are in number 12, but under them are many more, my son. And creeping through the prison of the body, they force the man that's placed within to suffer in his senses. But they depart, although not all at once, from him, who hath been taken pity on by God. And this it is which constitutes the manner of rebirth, and the reason. And now, my son, be still and solemn silence keep. Thus shall the mercy that flows on us from God not cease. Henceforth rejoice, O son, for by the powers of God thou art being purified for the articulation of the reason. Gnosis of God hath come to us, and when this comes, my son, not knowing is cast out. Gnosis of joy hath come to us, and on its coming, son, sorrow will flee away to them who give it room. The power that follows joy do I invoke, thy self-control, O power most sweet. Let us most gladly bid it welcome, son. How with its coming doth it chase intemperance away? Now forth on continence I call the power against desire. This step, my son, is righteousness's firm seat. For without judgment, see how she hath chased unrighteousness away. We are made righteous, son, by the departure of unrighteousness. The power sixth I call to us, that against avarice, sharing with all. And now that avarice is gone, I call on truth, and error flees, and truth is with us. See how the measure of the good is full, my son, upon truth's coming. For envy hath gone from us, and unto truth is joined the good as well, with life and light. And now no more doth any torment of the darkness venture nigh, but vanquished all have fled with whirring wings. Thou knowest now, my son, the manner of rebirth. And when the 10 is come, my son, that driveth out the 12, the birth and understanding is complete, and by this birth we are made into gods. Who then doth by his mercy gain this birth in God, abandoning the body's senses, knowing himself to be of light and life, and that he doth consist of these, and thus is filled with bliss? By God made steadfast, Father, no longer with the sight my eyes afford I look on things, but with the energy the mind doth give me through the powers. In heaven am I, in earth, in water, air. I am in animals, in plants. I am in the womb, before the womb, after the womb. I am everywhere. But further, tell me this. How are the torments of the darkness, when they are 12 in number, driven out by the 10 powers? What is the way of it, thrice greatest one? The dwelling place through which we have just passed, my son, is constituted from the circle of the types of life, this being composed of elements, 12 in number, but of one nature, an omniform idea. For man's delusions there are disunions in them, son, while in their action they are one. Not only can we never part rashness from wrath, they cannot even be distinguished. According to right reason, then, they naturally withdraw once and for all, inasmuch as they are chased out by no less than 10 powers, that is, the 10. For, son, the 10 is that which giveth birth to souls, and life and light are unified there, where the one hath being from the Spirit. According then to reason, the one contains the 10 the one. Father, I see the all. I see myself in mind. This is, my son, rebirth. No more to look on things from body's viewpoint, a thing 3 ways in space extended. Though this sermon on rebirth, on which I did not comment, in order that we may not be calumniators of the all unto the multitude, to whom indeed the God himself doth will we should not. Tell me, O Father, this body which is made up of the powers, is it at any time dissolved? Hush, son, speak not of things impossible, else wilt thou sin and thy mind's eye be quenched. The natural body which our senses perceive is far removed from the essential birth. The first must be dissolved, the last could never be. The first must die, the last death cannot touch. Dost thou not know thou hast been born a god, son of the one, even as I am myself? I would, O Father, hear the praise-giving with him which thou didst say thou heardest when thou wert at the 8, the Ogdoad of the powers. Just as the shepherd did foretell I should, my son, when I came to the 8. Well dost thou haste to strike thy tent, for thou hast been made pure. The shepherd, mind of all masterhood, hath not passed on to me more than hath been writ down, For full well did he know that I should of myself be able to learn all, and hear what I should wish, and see all things. He left to me the making of fair things, wherefore the powers within me, even as they are in all, break into song. Father, I wish to hear, I long to know these things. Be still, my son. Hear the praise-giving now that keeps the soul in tune, hymn of rebirth, a hymn that I would have not thought fit so readily to tell, hadst thou not reached the end of all. Wherefore this is not taught, but it is kept hid in silence. Thus then, my son, stand in a place uncovered to the sky, facing the southern wind about the sinking of the setting sun, and make thy worship so in a like manner to when he doth rise with face to the east wind. Now, son, be still. The secret hymnody. Let every nature of the world receive the utterance of my hymn. Open, thou earth. Let every bolt of the abyss be drawn for me. Stir not, ye trees. I am about to hymn creation's Lord, both all and one. Ye heavens open, and ye winds stay still, and let God's deathless sphere receive my words. For I will sing the praise of him who founded all, who fixed the earth and hung up heaven, and gave command that ocean should afford sweet water to the earth, to both those parts that are inhabited and those that are not, for the support and use of every man, who made the fire to shine for gods and men for every act. Let us together all give praise to him, sublime above the heaven of every nature Lord. It is he who is the eye of the mind. May he accept the praise of these my powers. Ye powers that are within me, hymn the one and all. Sing with my will, powers all that are within me. O blessed Gnosis, by thee illumined, hymning through thee the light that mind alone can see. I joy in joy of mind. Sing with me praises, all ye powers. Sing praise my self-control. Sing thou through me my righteousness, the praises of the righteous. Sing thou my sharing all, the praises of the all. Through me sing truth and truth's praises. Sing thou, O good, the good, O life and light. From us to you our praises flow. Father, I give thee thanks. To thee, thou energy of all my powers, I give thee thanks, O God, thou power of all my energies. Thy reason sings through me thy praises. Take back through me the all into thy reason, my reasonable oblation. Thus cry the powers in me. They sing thy praise, thou all, they do thy will. From thee thy will, to thee the all. Receive from all the reasonable oblation. The all that is in us, O life, preserve. O light, illumine it. O God, inspirit it. It is thy mind that plays the shepherd to thy word, O thou Creator, bestower of the Spirit upon all. For thou art God. Thy man thus cries to thee through fire, through air, through earth, through water, and through spirit, through thy creatures. It is from thy aeon I have found praise-giving, and in thy will, the object of my search, have I found rest. By thy good pleasure have I seen this praise-giving being sung, O Father. I have said it in my cosmos too. Say in the cosmos that thy mind alone can see, my son. Yea, Father, in the cosmos that the mind alone can see. For I have been made able by thy hymn, and by thy praise-giving my mind hath been illumined. But further I myself as well would from my natural mind send praise-giving to God. But not unheedfully, my son. What I behold in mind, that do I say. To thee, thou parent of my bringing into birth, as unto God I taught, send reasonable offerings. O God and Father, thou art the Lord, thou art the mind. Receive from me oblations, reasonable as thou wouldst wish for by the will all things have been perfected. Send thou oblations, Son, acceptable to God, the Sire of all. But add my Son too, through the Word. I give thee, Father, thanks for showing me to sing such hymns. Happy am I, my Son, that thou hast been brought the good fruits forth of truth, products that cannot die. And now that thou hast learnt this lesson from me, make promise to keep silence on thy virtue, and to no soul, my Son, make known the handling on to thee the manner of rebirth, that we may not thought to be calumniators. And now we both of us have given heed sufficiently, both I the speaker and you the hearer. In mind hast thou become a knower of thyself and of our common sire. Corpus Hermeticum, Chapter 14. A letter of thrice greatest Hermes to Asclepius. Since in thy absence my son taught, desired to learn the nature of the things that are, and he would not let me hold it over, as is natural to a younger son, fresh come to gnosis of the teachings on each single point. I was compelled to tell him more, in order that the contemplation of them might be the easier for him to follow. I would, then, choosing out the chiefest heads of what was said, write them in brief to thee, explaining them more mystically, as unto one of greater age, and one well versed in nature. If all things manifest have been and are being made, and made things are not made by their own selves, but by another, if made things are the many, nay, more, are all things manifest and all things different and not alike, and things that are being made by other than themselves. There is someone who makes these things, and he cannot be made, but is more ancient than the things that can. For things that can be made, I say, are made by other than themselves. But of the things that owe their being to their being made, it is impossible that anything should be more ancient than them all, save only that which is not able to be made. So he is both the supreme, one and only, the truly wise and all, as having naught more ancient than himself. For he doth rule over both number and size, difference of things that are being made, and over the continuity of their making too. Again, things makeable are seeable, but he cannot be seen. For this cause he maketh, that he may not be able to be seen. He therefore ever maketh, and therefore again he never be seen. To comprehend him thus is meet, and comprehending it is meet to marvel, and marveling to count oneself as blessed, as having learnt to know one's sire. For what is sweeter than one's own true sire? Who then is he, and how shall we learn to know of him? Is it not right to dedicate to him alone the name of God, or that of Maker, or of Father, or rather all the three? God for his power, Maker for his energy, and Father for his good? Now power doth differ from the things which are being made, while energy consisteth in all things being made. Wherefore we ought to put away verbosity and foolish talk, and understand these two, the made and maker. For that of them there is no middle term, there is no third. Wherefore in all that thou conceivest, in all thou nearest, these two recall to mind. And think all things are they, reckoning as doubtful not, nor of the things above, nor of the things below, neither of things divine, nor things that suffer change, or things that are in obscuration. For all things are these twain, maker and made, and it is impossible that one should be without the other. For neither is it possible that maker should exist without the made, for each of them is one and the same thing. Wherefore it is no more possible for one from other to be parted than self from self. Now if the maker is naught else but that which makes, alone, simple, uncompound, it needs must do this making to itself, to which its maker's making is its being made. And as to all that's being made, it cannot be so made by being made by its own self, but it must needs be made by being made by other. Without the maker, made is neither made nor is, for that the one without the other doth lose its proper nature by deprivation of that other. If then all things have been made to be two, the that which is being made, and that which makes, all then are one in union of these, the that which leadeth and the that which followeth. The making God is that which leadeth. The that which is being made, whatever it be, is the that which followeth. And do not thou be chary of things made because of their variety, from fear of attribution of a low estate and lack of glory unto God. For that his glory is one, to make all things, and this is, as it were, God's baby, the making of them. But by the maker's self naught is there thought or bad or base. These things are passion which accompany the making process, as rust doth brass and filth doth body. But neither doth the brass-smith make the rust, nor the begetters of the bodily filth, nor God make evil. It is continuance in the state of being made that makes them lose, as though it were, their bloom. And it is because of this God hath made change, as though it were the making clean of Genesis. Is it then possible for one and the same painter man to make both heaven and gods and earth and sea and men and all the animals and all the lifeless things, trees, and yet impossible for God to make all these things? What monstrous lack of understanding, what want of knowledge is to God? For such the strangest lot of all do suffer. For though they say they worship piously and sing the praises of God, yet by their not ascribing unto him the making of all things, they know not God. And added unto this not knowing, they are guilty even of the worst impiety to him, passions to him attributing, or arrogance, or impotency. For if he doth not make all things, from arrogance he doth not make, or not being able, which is impiety to think. One passion hath God only, good, and he who is good is neither arrogant nor impotent. For this is God, the good, which has all power of making all, and all that can be made is made by God, that is, by him who is the good, and who can make all things. But wouldst thou learn how he doth make, and how things made are made, thou mayest do so. Behold a very fair and most resemblant image. A husbandman casting the seed into the ground, here wheat, there barley, and there again some other of the seeds. Behold one and the same man planting the vine, the apple, and all the other trees. And in just the selfsame way doth God sow immortality in heaven, and change on earth, and life and motion in the universe. These are not many, but few and easy to be numbered, for four in all are they, and God himself, and Genesis, in whom are all that are. Corpus Hermeticum, chapter 16. The definitions of Asclepius unto King Ammon. Great is the sermon which I send to thee, O king, the summing up and digest, as it were, of all the rest. For it is not composed to suit the many's prejudice, since it contains much that refuteth them. Nay, it will seem to thee as well to contradict sometimes my sermons too. Hermes, my master, in many a conversation, both when alone and sometimes too when taught was there, has said that unto those who come across my books, their composition will seem most simple and most clear, but on the contrary, as it is unclear, and has the inner meaning of its words concealed, it will still be unclearer when, afterwards, the Greeks will want to turn our tongue into their own, for this will be a very great distorting and obscuring of even what has already been written. Turned into our own native tongue, the sermon keepeth clear the meaning of the words, logo, at any rate. For that its very quality of sound, the very power of the Egyptian names, have in themselves the bringing into act of what is said. As far as, then, thou can, O king, and thou canst do all things, keep this our sermon from translation, in order that such mighty mysteries may not come to the Greeks, and the disdainful speech of Greece, with all its looseness and its surface beauty, so to speak, take all the strength out of the solemn and the strong, the energetic speech of names. The Greeks, O king, have novel words, energic of argumentation only, and thus is the philosophizing of the Greeks, the noise of words. But we do not use words, but we use sounds full filled with deeds. Thus, then will I begin the sermon by invocation unto God, the universal's Lord and Maker, their Sire and their Encompasser, who though being all is one, and though being one is all, for that the fullness of all things is one, and is in one. This latter one not coming as a second one, but both being one. And this is the idea that I would have thee keep through the whole study of our sermon, sire. For should one try to separate what seems to be both all and one and same from one, he will be found to take his epithet of all from the idea of multitude, and not from that of fullness, which is impossible. For if he part all from the one, he will destroy the all. For all things must be one, if they are indeed one. Yes, they are one, and they shall never cease being one, in order that the fullness may not be destroyed. See then in earth a host of founts of water and of fire, forth spurting in its midmost parts. In one and the same space all the three natures visible, of fire and water and of earth, depending from one root. Whence, too, it is believed to be the treasury of every matter. It sendeth forth of its abundance, and in the place of what it sendeth forth, receiveth the subsistence from above. For thus the demiurge, I mean the sun, eternally doth order heaven and earth, pouring down essence, and taking matter up, drawing both round himself and to himself all things, and from himself giving all things to all. For he it is whose goodly energies extend not only through the heaven and the air, but also onto earth, right down into the lowest depth and the abyss. And if there be an essence which the mind alone can grasp, this is his substance, the reservoir of which would be his light. But whence this substance doth arrive, or floweth forth, he and he only knows. Or rather, in space and nature, he is near unto himself, though as he is not seen by us, understand him by conjecture. The spectacle of him, however, is not left unto conjecture. Nay, for his very rays, in greatest splendor, shine all around on all the cosmos that doth lie above and lie below. For he is established in the midst, wreathed with the cosmos, and just as a good charioteer, he safely drives the cosmic team and holds them in unto himself, lest they should run away in dire disorder. The reins are life and soul and spirit, deathlessness and genesis. He lets in, then drives round not far off from himself, nay, if the truth be said, together with himself. And in this way he operates all things. To the immortals he distributeth perpetual permanence, and with the upper hemisphere of his own light, all that he sends above from out his other side, the side of him which looks to heaven, he nourisheth the deathless parts of cosmos. But with that side that sendeth down its light, and shineth round all of the hemisphere of water, and of earth and air, he vivifieth, and by births and changes keepeth in movement to and fro the animals in these lower parts of cosmos. He changes them in spiral fashion, and doth transform them into one another, genus to genus, species into species, their mutual changes into one another being balanced, just as he does when he doth deal with the great bodies. For in the case of every body, its permanence consists in transformation. In case of an immortal one, there is no dissolution. But when it is immortal, it is accompanied with dissolution. And this is how the deathless body doth differ from the mortal, and how the mortal one doth differ from the deathless. Moreover, as his light's continuous, so is his power of giving life to lives continuous, and not to be brought to an end in space or in abundance. For there are many choirs of daemons round him, like unto hosts of very various kinds, who though they dwell with mortals, yet are not from the immortals, but having as their lot from here unto the spaces of the gods, they wash over the affairs of men, and work out things appointed by the gods, by means of storms, whirlwinds, and hurricanes, by transmutations wrought by fire and shakings of the earth, with famines also, and with wars requiting man's impiety. For this is in man's case the greatest ill against the gods. For that the duty of the gods is to give benefits, the duty of mankind is to give worship, the duty of the daemons is to give requital. For as to all the other things men do, through error or foolhardiness or by necessity, which they call fate or ignorance, these are not held requitable among the gods. Impiety alone is guilty at their bar. The sun is the preserver and the nurse of every class. And just as the intelligible world, holding the sensible in its embrace, fills it all full, distending it with forms of every kind and every shape, so too the sun distendeth all in cosmos, affording births to all, and strengtheneth them. When they are weary or they fall, he takes them in his arms again. And under him is ranged the choir of daemons, or rather, choirs, for these are multitudinous and very varied, ranked underneath the groups of stars, in equal number with each one of them. So, marshaled in their ranks, they are the ministers of each one of the stars, being in their natures good and bad. That is, in their activities, for that a daemon's essence is activity, while some of them are of mixed natures, both good and bad. To all of these has been allotted the authority over things upon the earth, and it is they who bring about the multifold confusions, the turmoils on the earth, for states and nations generally, and for each individual separately. For they do shape our souls like to themselves, and set them moving with them, obsessing nerves and marrow, veins and arteries, the brain itself down to the very heart. For on each one of us being born and made alive, the daemons take hold on us. Those daemons who are in service at that moment of the wheel of Genesis, who are ranged under each one of the stars. For that these change at every moment, they do not stay the same, but circle back again. These, then, descending through the body to the two parts of the soul, set it whirling, each one towards its own activity, but the soul's rational part is set above the lordship of the daemons, designed to be receptacle of God. Who then doth have a ray shining upon him through the sun within his rational part? And these in all are few on them that the demons do not act. For no one of the daemons or of gods has any power against one ray of God. As for the rest, they are all led and driven, soul and body, by the daemons, loving and hating the activities of these. The reason, then, is not the love that is deceived and that deceives. The daemons, therefore, exercise the whole of this terrene economy, using our bodies as their instruments. And this economy Hermes has called hamarmene. The world intelligible, then, depends from God, the sensible from the intelligible world. The sun, through the intelligible and the sensible cosmos, pours forth abundantly the stream from God of good. That is, the demiurgic operation. And round the sun are the 8 spheres, dependent from him, the sphere of the non-wandering ones, the 6 spheres of the wanderers, and 1 circumterrane. And from the spheres depend the daemons, and from these men, and thus all things and all of them depend from God. Wherefore God is the sire of all, the suns their demiurge. The cosmos is the instrument of demiurgic operation. Intelligible essence regulateth heaven, and heaven the gods. The daemons, ranked underneath the gods, regulate men. This is the host of gods and daemons. Through these, God makes all things for his own self, and all of them are parts of God. And if they are all parts, then God is all. Thus, making all, he makes himself, nor ever can he cease his making, for he himself is ceaseless. Just then as God doth have no end and no beginning, so does his making have no end and no beginning. Corpus Hermeticum, chapter 17. Of Asclepius to the king. If thou dost think of it, O king, even of bodies there are things bodiless. What are they? The bodies that appear in mirrors, do they not seem then to have no body? It is so, O Asclepius. Thou thinkest like a god. There are things bodiless as well as these. For instance, forms. Do they not seem to thee to have no body, but to appear in bodies not only of the things which are ensouled, but also of those which are not ensouled? Thou sayest well, Asclepius. Thus, then, there are reflections of things bodiless on bodies, and of bodies too upon things bodiless. That is to say, reflections of the sensible on the intelligible world, and of the world intelligible on the sensible. Wherefore, pay worship to the images, O king, since they too have their forms as from the world intelligible. Thereon his majesty arose and said, It is the hour, O prophet, to see about the comfort of our guests. Tomorrow we will resume our sacred converse. Corpus Hermeticum, chapter 18. The encomium of kings. Now in the case of those professing the harmonious art of muse-like melody, if, when the piece is placed, the discord of the instruments doth hinder their intent, its rendering becomes ridiculous. For when his instruments are quite too weak for what is required of them, the music artist needs must be laughed at by the audience. For he, with all good will, gives of his art unweariedly, they blame the artist's weakness. He then, who is the natural musician God, not only in his making of the harmony of his celestial songs, but also in his sending forth the rhythm of the melody of his own songs, right down into the separate instruments, is, as God, never wearied. For that with God there is no growing weary. So, then, if ever a musician desires to enter into the highest contest of his art, he can, when now the trumpeters have rendered the same phrase of the composer's skill, and afterwards the flautists play the sweet notes of the melody upon their instruments, and they complete the music of the piece with pipe and plectrum. If anything goes wrong, one does not lay the blame upon the inspiration of the music maker. Nay, by no means. To him one renders the respect that is his due. One blames the falseness of the instrument, in that it has always become a hindrance to those who are most excellent, embarrassing the maker of the music in the execution of his melody, and robbing those who listen of the sweetness of the song. In like way also, in our case, let no one of our audience for the weakness that inheres in body blame impiously our race. Nay, let him know God is unwearied spirit, forever in the self-same way possessed of his own science, unceasing in his joyous gifts, the self-same benefits bestowing everywhere. And if the Phidias, the demiurge, is not responded to by lack of matter to perfect his skillfulness, although for his own part the artist has done all he can, let us not lay the blame on him, but let us, rather, blame the weakness of the string, in that, because it is too slack or is too tight, it mars the rhythm of the harmony. So when it is that the mischance occurs by reason of the instrument, no one doth blame the artist. Nay, more, the worse the instrument doth chance to be, the more the artist gains in reputation by the frequency with which his hands doth strike the proper note, and more the love the listeners pour upon that music maker, without the slightest thoughts of blaming him. So will we too, most noble sirs, set our own lyre in tune again, with the musician. Nay, I have seen one of the artist folk, although he had no power of playing on the lyre, when once he had been trained for the right noble theme, make frequent use of his own self as instrument, and tune the service of his string by means of mysteries, so that the listeners were amazed at how he turned necessitude into magnificence. Of course you know the story of the harper who won the favor of the god who is the president of music work. One day, when he was playing for a prize, and when the breaking of a string became a hindrance to him in the contest, the favor of the better one supplied him with another string, and placed within his grasp the boon of fame. A grasshopper was made to settle on his lyre through the foreknowledge of the better one, and so fill in the melody in substitution of the broken string. And so, by mending of his string, the harper's grief was stayed, and fame of victory was won. And this, I feel, is my own case, most noble sirs. For but just now I seem to make confession of my want of strength, and play the weakling for a little while. But now, by virtue of the strength of that superior one, as though my song about the king had been perfected by him, I seem to wake my muse. For, you must know, the end of this our duty will be the glorious fame of kings, and the goodwill of our discourse will occupy itself about the triumphs which they win. Come then, and let us make haste, for that the singer willeth it, and hath attuned his lyre. For this, nay more sweetly will he play, more fitly will he sing, as he has for his song the greater subjects of his theme. Since then he has the string of his lyre tuned specially to kings, and has the key of laudatory songs, and is his goal the royal praises, let him first raise himself unto the highest king, the God of wholes. Beginning, then, his song from the above, he thus in second place descends to those after his likeness who hold the scepter's power. Since kings themselves, indeed, prefer the topics of the song should step by step descend from the above, and where they have their gifts of victory presided over for them, then should their hopes be led in orderly succession. Let then the singers start with God, the greatest King of wholes, who is forever free from death, both everlasting and possessed of all the might of everlastingness, the glorious victor, the very first from whom all victories descend, to those who in succession do succeed to victory. Our sermon then doth hasten to descend to kingly praises, and to the presidents of common weal and peace, the kings whose lordship in most ancient times was placed upon the highest pinnacle by God supreme, for whom the prizes have already been prepared even before their prowess in the war, of whom the trophies have been raised even before the shock of conflict, for whom it is appointed not only to be kings, but also to be best, at whom, before they even stir, the foreign land doth quake. About the blessing of the better one, and praising of the king. But now our theme doth hasten on to blend its end with its beginnings, with blessing of the better one, and then to make a final end of its discourse on those divinest kings who give us the great prize of peace. For just as we began by treating of the better one and of the powers above, so let us make the end bend round again unto the same, the better one. Just as the sun, the nurse of all things that grow, on his first rising, gathers unto himself the first fruits of their yield with his most mighty hands, using his rays as though it were for plucking off their fruits. Yea, for his rays are truly hands for him who plucketh first the most ambrosial essences of plants. So too should we, beginning from the better one, and thus recipient of his wisdom stream, and turning it upon the garden of our souls above the heavens, we should direct and train these streams of blessing back again unto their source, blessings whose entire power of germination in us he hath himself poured into us. 'Tis fit 10,000 tongues and voices should be used to send his blessings back again unto the all-pure God, who is the Father of our souls. And though we cannot utter what is fit, for we are far unequal to the task, yet will we say what best we can. For babes just born have not the strength to sing their Father's glory as it should be sung, but they give proper thanks for them, according to their strength, and meet with pardon for their feebleness. Nay, it is rather that God's glory doth consist in this one very thing, that he is greater than his children, and that the prelude and the source, the middle and the end of blessings, is to confess the Father to be infinitely puissant, and never knowing what a limit means. So is it, too, in the king's case. For that we men, as though we were the children of the king, feel it our natural duty to give praise to him, still must we ask for pardon for our insufficiency, even though it is granted by our sire before we even ask. And as it cannot be the sire will turn from babes newborn because they are so weak, but rather will rejoice when they begin to recognize his love, so also will the gnosis of the all rejoice, which doth distribute life to all, and power of giving blessing back to God, which he hath given to us. For God, being good, and having in himself eternally the limit of his own eternal fitness, and being deathless, and containing in himself that lot of that inheritance that cannot come unto an end, and thus for ever flowing from out that energy of his, he doth send tidings to his world down here to urge us to the rendering of praise that brings us home again. With him, therefore, is there no difference with one another. There is no partiality with him, but they are one in thought. One is the prescience of all. They have one mind, their Father. One is the sense that is active through them, their passion for each other. 'Tis love himself who worketh the one harmony of all. Thus, therefore, let us sing the praise of God. Nay, rather, let us first descend to those who have received their scepters from him. For that we ought to make beginning with our kings, and so by practicing ourselves on them, accustom us to songs of praise, and train ourselves in pious service to the better one. We ought to make the very first beginnings of our exercise of praise begin from him, and through him exercise the practice of our praise, that so there may be in us both the exercising of our piety towards God and of our praise to kings. For that we ought to make return to them, in that they have extended the prosperity of such great peace to us. It is the virtue of the king, nay, 'tis his name alone that doth establish peace. He has his name of king, because he levelleth the summits of dissension with his smooth tread, and is the Lord of reason that makes for peace. And inasmuch, in sooth, as he hath made himself the natural protector of the kingdom, which is not his native land, his very name is made the sign of peace. For that, indeed, you know, the appellation of the king has frequently at once restrained the foe. Nay, more, the very statues of the king are peaceful harbors for those most tempest-tossed. The likeness of the king alone has to appear to win the victory, and to assure to all the citizens freedom from hurt and fear. The Corpus Hermeticum.